Hello, friends. We are live, and I wanted to start it off with a very exciting theme. So hold on real quick.
Ooh.
Hello. Yes. You have to know that this. Okay. So before I get flagged for copyright infringement, I only played the acceptable amount of time for our spooky spectacular that we're having. I'm joined by Natalie, who hosts the Deep Conversations, or sorry, Deep Convos podcast. And
Deep dive conversations.
deep dive. See,
It's
we
okay.
both
It's
do it
good.
to each other. We do
We
it to
love
each
it.
other. Um, and I'm excited that she answered the call to action for other creators to join us because I joined her on her show and we talked
Yes.
about the Villisca Axe Murder House and then the Devil Made Me Do It podcast or episode. And actually, I took inspiration from you in that podcast because that's what I used to cover the live show I did for Studio Both and this past weekend in Massachusetts.
Oh,
I was
you
like, "Oh,
did?
yeah." Yeah, I was like, "That's the perfect case for it." Like, it's on that
Amazing.
side on the East Coast, like, right by Connecticut. So,
Yeah,
our live show was the Devil Made Me Do It case, so
that's awesome. You
cheers.
guys were so close. Oh.
Mhm. Oh, wait, are you on that side of Canada? On the
Oh, what's
Toronto
it?
side?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know
Mhm.
that. You should have come down. It's only a 6-hour drive.
Only 6 hours.
Robin came down from, Ottawa and
Oh,
stuff, and I
yeah?
was like, "How long is that drive?" And he's like, "Oh, it's only 6 hours." And I was like, okay, I wouldn't drive 6 hours for anybody. I'd be taking
But
a plane."
Ottawa is like 6 hours for me, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if he's in I mean, I thought he was in Ottawa. It's maybe Toronto.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ottawa and Toronto are very far from each other. So
Oh,
I was
he's
like,
from Ottawa, so maybe it's Toronto that he lives in. Now I
mm.
feel like a bad friend. Thanks,
That's
Natalie.
Canada
Thanks a
is
lot.
just such a majestical land.
I know.
It's easy to forget. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay.
Yes.
Nobody minds. So we're here tonight doing the spooky spectacular because I love all things paranormal and Halloween is one of my favorite holidays to celebrate. It is the one that I am most excited about. I don't care about Christmas, I don't care about Thanksgiving. I only love Halloween. I love putting out the decorations. My whole house is decorated and it's just a lot of fun. So I always get so excited when other people uh come into the spectacular spookiness of Halloween. And I've never done
Yes.
a spooky live stream before, so people may be like, "What the hell?" Um which is fine. We're gonna go as long as we can, right? I said until
Oh,
8, but, we'll
mhm.
just see. We'll just see what happens because he
Okay.
sometimes gets a little hot in this booth, so we may change it earlier. But now, tell us about you. Tell us about your podcast and kind of how you got into this world of podcasting.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, I'm Natalie, and I am the host of Deep Dive Conversations, and I just started the podcast in 2020. And truthfully, it was because I started therapy that year,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was learning like so many new things and just so many wonderful ways to cope with life, especially in that year of 2020, like the pandemic, the whole like your world is flipped upside down.
Yes.
So I found very helpful, I found therapy very helpful. And I just kind of wanted to share the things that I was learning. So it was the preface of like deep dive conversations. It's like going deeper than the surface level conversations you have every day.
Mhm.
And because I just felt like everything was so mundane and at my job, like every little conversation I had was just so short and just so like boring. It kind of like
Mm.
just drains you, you know?
Yeah.
So then I just, like, got together with my friend, and we just had some drinks and, like, sorry, one second.
You're okay.
Speaking of that, weed is legal in Canada, so,
Is that what that
me and my
is?
friends
Your
but I was
your
going to
post
say
your post
yeah, my
blunt
post
puff.
exactly. Um, but my friend and I would just get super baked and just, like, talk about stuff in life,
Mhm.
and, so then I kinda got more into the paranormal realm area when I wanted to I think it's more the more I listened to other podcasts that were spooky, I was
Mhm.
like, "I would love to know, like, if there's anyone around me that has spooky stories," and, like,
Yeah,
so I kinda did one episode on that, and I did an episode on true crime, and so my podcast isn't basically just one genre, it's, like, just talking about anything and everything, keeping your mind open, and just, trying to believe in
I love
things
that.
that we can't see or hear. And so, yeah, listening to your podcast, it's haunted. What now? Um, it's so crazy, how often it happens. And in your storytelling, I always think it's you. And I'm always like, "Lainey, are you okay?" And then I realize
Well,
you're
see,
speaking about,
I know,
like,
I try
have
to
a
be
wife or
as
something.
immersive as possible, like, truly
Oh,
immersive.
you get me immersed,
Um,
girl.
I want you to be like it's also what I do for, like, my podcast, like, I want you to be in the room with me, right? So, like, I
Yes.
want you to imagine that, like, we're doing this paranormal ghost hunt or something, and you're just, like, sitting there like, "What the hell is
Yeah,
going on?" Like, have you ever seen the movie The Others?
I don't
Like,
think
with
so.
Nicole Kidman? If you have not watched that movie, it is so good.
I
It's
just, like,
ki
recently started getting into, like, spooky stuff, like
Yeah.
sorry, not recently, I would say the past, like, 5 or so years, just because I was raised super, super religious, and
Yeah, and
anything we
everything
would
was the
watch
devil.
mhm,
Mhm.
anything that you would watch that is not of God is like inviting the devil into your home, and,
Oh my
like,
god.
you're gonna
Yeah.
get possessed and die.
That's
So
why The Exorcist is my favorite movie because my grandma was always like, "You're just that's a like, I don't want you to watch that here because you're just gonna invite the
you're
devil." I'm
opening it
like,
yeah,
"Okay,
you're gonna
well,
mhm.
you're the one letting the devil in," is what I'll say. I
Funny,
didn't have any, like, reason to invite him here, so
yeah, that's true. I just watched the remake of the new one. And it was
Did you
pretty
like
good.
it?
It was really spooky. I think it was scary. The CGI scared me. I'm
The
just
crap?
very easily
Okay.
spooked. Why?
Okay,
Did you
well
see it?
no, not yet. So
Oh, okay.
The Exorcist is literally one of my favorite movies, like, my mom first showed it to me and I was like, "Oh my god." And also coupled with the fact that you learn that think about the time when it was released, like, I think it was released in the '70s. This movie was literally so frightening to people who had never seen anything like it, that they
That's so
literally
true.
fainted in the theater. You know what I mean? Like, from fear. And I was like, "That is the coolest thing in the world." Like, I think that's so awesome. And
That
I was
is
like,
pretty
"Oh,
cool.
I would love to experience something like that in the sense of it of that being such a new thing to me." And, like, you can't experience something new like that anymore because
I know.
you've been exposed to it all, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing new and terrifying, like, trailblazing in the sense of horror and paranormal and stuff. So I really, really loved that movie, and I
Mhm.
still do, it's one of my favorites. But me and my mom, like, my mom first showed it to me, and then we went to go see, I think, the 30th anniversary of it, and I just freaking loved it. So I was like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
so I held it it's one of those movies that, like
You don't wanna ruin it.
yeah, with the
Yeah?
remake, so I'm a little nervous to see it all kind of see how it's gonna play out and stuff like that, so
Mm,
we'll see how it
yeah.
goes. I'm going to watch it, but I have a feeling I will be disappointed. Who knows, who knows? So
Yeah.
for the paranormal side of it, you said you've gotten into it within the last 5 years or so. So
Mhm.
what makes are you a believer or are you a skeptic? What do you consider yourself to be?
Okay, so my whole life I've been, like, kind of just, like so I was, like, gaslit a lot by my, siblings, and they're just like,
Mhm.
No, that stuff is not real, only God is real," and
Right.
so I didn't believe in it. The past couple years now, I gotta say, after a lot of the podcasts that I've listened to, and I guess I'm a little bit easily influenced, but even the shows on Netflix and stuff like Haunting of Hill House, oh, so good,
Good.
so
That
good,
was great
and
cinema.
yeah, so good. So I'm definitely a believer now, and, um I had this, like, one experience that I mentioned on my one episode on the podcast, but it's super brief, like, I
Let's hear
didn't
it.
see okay, so when I watched the series, when Chris and I would watch the series, Haunting of Hill House. We'd watch it, like, 1 episode every night so we weren't, like, overdoing it,
Right.
and we were living at his parents' house at the time, and it was very old, and, it still is very, very old. I'm talking, like, wood panels, like, on the wall.
Oh, so, like,
Like,
definitely, like, 70s, 80s house.
vibe, yeah, green
Yes.
carpet, like
Oh, green
yes,
carpet?
green
How
carpet
that was
girl.
ever a design choice, I
I
don't
don't know,
know.
and it's, it's not renovated, so she's just loving it. I guess she's loving the vibe.
She loves the theme.
She's loving the spooky vibe. So the hallway is so dark, and there's just one tiny little lamp in the middle that sits in the hallway, and it's just like this glass lamp, and it's that alone is
Of
creepy.
course. Yeah, I
And
was
then
like,
across
you picked
yeah.
the creepiest lamp to be
Yeah,
there.
it can't be just like a nice big
No. My
voluptuous
dad has
lamp
one
or
of those.
something,
Oh,
you
I
know?
hate things like that, yeah.
Yes, it must be an antique, so I didn't say anything. It's not my
Mhm.
house, whatever. So I go into the bathroom. So it's hard to explain, but like his room is at the end of the hall and it's very dark, so you can kind of hide in between the door and like say this is the corner, this is the
Mhm.
wall, and this is his door. So you can hide in this corner here and he won't see you because it's so dark. So
Ew.
what I did was he was walking up the stairs and he didn't see me. He was heading towards his room and I was like, "Boo!" And he like fell on the floor and
You're
like
like,
was
broke his
laughing.
neck. It was actually an he became the ghost because he
This is
died.
true crime actually.
Right.
No, but he fell on the floor laughing. It was so funny. And then later on that night, I'm like going to pee in the middle of the night because I had to pee a million times in the night for some reason, which is weird because it was only in the house.
You never did right before.
I never needed to go pee in the middle of the night. Yeah, that's
It
true.
makes you it does that on purpose so it can get you out of bed. Come on.
Oh my god, sorry.
Be like manipulating you.
Yes, so I got it. It's obviously 2, 3 in the morning. I go to the washroom. I'm coming out of the washroom, and like just that hallway lamp is on, and I'm not even kidding you. At the same corner that I was standing in, it was like someone went like "boo" to me because I
Ew.
literally my reaction was like my
No, no,
action
no,
was to
no, no,
like
no.
jump and it was like you couldn't see it. Like it was no facial features. It was no nothing specific. It was just a figure
Ew,
just
I hate
standing
it
there.
forever.
Yeah, and I immediately went inside and I ran under the covers and I was just like, "No, no, 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 no." I prayed so hard. I was like, "No, not today. Like, you're not gonna follow me in this room. You're gonna stay out there."
I don't believe in you, Satan, so it's
Yeah.
not today.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's creepy though. No, I
Yeah.
do think like spirits and things can definitely manipulate you and manipulate your reality because there's so many things that like just within the stories that I've read, the stories that
Mhm.
I've received, um, and it's crazy because people trust you with these stories. You know what I mean? Like they trust you that you're
Yes.
not going to be like making fun of them or you're not
Yeah.
going to meet like making a mockery of it or be like, what a loser. Why'd you send me this story? Um,
I hope not.
I think it's so cool, like, people submit their stories, and then when they personally email me, I think that's the coolest thing because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, you, like, care enough to share your story, A, with me, and think I'll
Mhm.
do a good job doing it," right? Like, I love that so much.
Yep.
But that is interesting because I think it was I mean, obviously, you don't know the kind of spirit that was in there or
Mhm.
anything like that, but it's clear, like, it was trying to do the same thing to you because if your
Exact same
husband
thing.
grew up in that house
Yes, he did.
there's an attachment to him, and so it's like, "Oh, you did that to him? Now I'm gonna do it to you," kind of like a protection measure.
I didn't
It's
even
like
think about that.
yeah, it's like I mean, it's just like the intuitiveness that I get from that, like, it
That is
is
so true.
right, it was like, "Oh, okay," because you would do the same thing, you'd be like, "Oh, I wanna get you back," you
Back.
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and if like I said, if he grew up there, he has a history with the home and stuff like that. Has he had any experiences before?
He has said yes, but he doesn't like, he's so, like I won't acknowledge it at all, so it's not real to him, like, he has said, "Yeah, I have," and I'm
It's
like,
not real to him, but he says
"It
he's
has
had
happened." Yeah, I should
experiences?
have asked
Okay.
him. He doesn't remember, but this probably is a mixture of both inebriation and also, like, maybe something, but at the top of the stairs are so, so slippery, okay?
Oh,
I've
wow.
actually fallen down them. Everybody has fallen down those stairs.
We need to knock him down. We
The
need to knock
shaggy
this house
green
down.
the shaggy green stairs, okay, that are cover the stairs.
The
Everyone has
the
fallen
whole
down them.
carpet is covered? I mean, the whole
The whole
stairs
stairs
covered in
covered in
carpet?
carpet.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell no. Okay.
So that part is blocked off so my son doesn't go
Up
near the
there.
stairs
Yeah.
because he will fall.
Yes.
Um, so this is so funny. One time it was his birthday, he stayed out late, and he came home and he took, like, an edible,
Mhm.
and so like, I think this might have been the first time he had one, and he was going downstairs to get a plate of food.
And he's like, "Brrr."
Yes, literally, like, fell down the
Oh
stairs
my god.
in the middle of the night, and um that was his experience then, and then I was like, "Yeah, there's everybody has fallen down those stairs," and we say it's, like, slippery, but it's like, you walk down a few stairs and there's a landing, and then you turn, and then you walk down the stairs. So wouldn't you be, like, a little bit more stable with that landing? But everyone
Yeah.
falls on top of the landing.
Oh, so maybe the spirit's, like, pushing people to be like, "Join me, I've been lonely." You know? Like, nobody's here.
Yes,
Nobody's hanging
and
out
you know,
with
like,
me.
that feeling where, like, the lights are turned off and you have to run up the stairs because the demon's gonna catch your legs or your ankles? Like, I
Yes.
only ever felt that there.
Yep, that fear is a real fear. But I don't
Yeah.
think it's anything, like, nefarious. It's probably just very, like,
Playful.
playful. Yeah.
Poltergeisty, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh,
Apparently,
spooky.
his my fiance's brother's, girlfriend has
Mhm.
seen a guy fully clothed in army gear, just, like,
Yeah. Oh my god.
walking towards our door, like, through
A
our
full
it's
ew! A full body in your
Mhm.
house? No, thank
Yeah, full
you.
body
No, thanks.
army man, and she I was like, What did he do?" And she's like, "He just stood there."
No, he just walked into your room, like, no
Yeah, he's
bigs. I
walking
was like,
towards
"Hold
our
up."
room. Thanks.
I was like,
'Cause,
"Hold
like
up."
yeah, 'cause there was a balcony in the room too, on the house, right? So I'm
Mhm.
wondering, like, would you just go out there and just have a smoke or something? And, like,
Interesting.
I don't know, but they were very, like, quick to, like, not talk about anything. They were not a family that would give into the paranormal, like,
Well,
you
I
know?
mean, that's good in a way. So, like, what we say about the paranormal and stuff is, like, the more you acknowledge is the more energy you give
You
it.
give it
So, I ran into that issue. I shared this story recently, and I've shared it on a few podcasts before. I shared it, I think, on Two Girls, One Ghost. I'm gonna go see
Ooh,
them tomorrow. I'm excited.
where?
They're gonna be here in Addison, in
Okay.
Texas.
Nice.
Um, so I'm
Tell them I
stoked
say
to see them.
hello. They don't
I
know who I
will.
am.
Did you meet them, though?
No, I didn't get to meet them because I didn't get the tickets to meet them because we
Oh,
didn't
okay.
it was like a quick little a little mommy
Go in
daddy
and
date
out.
night. Yeah, so and, like, because Toronto is so busy, we didn't wanna get stuck in traffic and stuff. I just didn't know what
I
it would
don't
be
blame
like,
you.
but
I don't blame you.
I wish
It
I
was
did it
good,
now.
right? It was a great
But
show.
yes, but so they did this, like, interactive fun thing. It was like, they were doing hide and seek or, like, hide and
Mhm.
clap.
Oh,
Hide
that
clap. Yes, yeah.
ew, I hate
So
that.
they had walkie-talkies, and then Corinne came up to me. I was sitting in the seats, whatever. She comes up
Yeah.
to me, she goes, "Can you hold this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I got to touch Corinne's hand."
Oh my god. I'm gonna tell her that, and she's gonna be
Yeah,
like,
she's gonna
"Oh
be so
my
like, "Oh my
god."
god."
No, she's honestly, like, those 2, are probably the most down to earth,
They seem like
chillest
it.
creators you'll ever meet, like, extremely humble
Yeah.
and honestly just like solidly good people. Like they don't get phased by any of the success they have, which you see like when
Mhm.
people get any like modicum of success, they quickly have a downfall. We're kind of seeing it happening right now in the true crime world. I won't say
Mhm.
much about that, but
Mhm.
it is. Um
He shall
and
not be named.
yeah, it just was like it was just kind of crazy. So
Mhm.
they are really, really sweet, and I've known them since they started their show, like, I started as an OG listener, and
Wow.
then would reach out to them and be like, "Hey, do you wanna do promo swaps?" Like, when I first started and stuff, and they've just always been super supportive, and they've tapped into the genre, like, the paranormal genre before anyone else, like, and that's why I think they have outside of
Oh.
being just amazing creators,
Yeah.
um in the way that they do the paranormal thing. So, like, Jim Harold had, a hold
Campfire
on the
stories.
market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Astonishing Legends, same thing. Like, they all have really big, platforms, but these are all male-led paranormal shows, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and That's Why We Drink and Two Girls, One Ghost are basically like the frontier women slash
Yes,
theys
we
of
love it, we love to
yeah.
see it.
And I only say women on the end, That's Why We Drink side to Christine and not about M. M is, they, them, so I'm
Yeah.
only meaning Christine in that sense, and
Mhm,
recognizing the impact that they had on the podcasting industry as it comes into the paranormal side.
mhm.
So they've done such a great job, and they are really truly just, like, amazing people and super, super sweet. I, got the chance to, like, officially hang out with them. I've known them for years. Officially hang
Mhm,
out with them a couple years back when Spotify and Parcast were launching, Max's book and stuff, so I was the MC, and they came on because they were hosting, a green room and doing a podcast for Parcast at the time,
mhm.
and we all kinda were, so it was a great evening of a lot of fun, like, we had so much fun. So I'm very excited that they are coming here and I can see them.
That's so
I'm gonna get
fun.
them, like, a fun little gifts, Texas themed gifts for tomorrow.
I love that. That's so cute.
Yes. So, I shared this story before, so it was talking about the whole giving an entity energy by
Mhm.
just, like, acknowledging it, but I I started naming it, because I was like, "Oh, hilarious," and that's kind of how I cope with things when I'm scared. I feed off of other people's fear. So, like, when
Mm.
we went skydiving, I wasn't terrified at all because my husband was scared, and I was all like, "I love this." Haunted houses, I love going with a crowd of scaredy cats because it just, like, it eases it for me because I was like, "I'm not gonna be scared. I'm gonna
That's
laugh at you."
true, 'cause I'm
So,
always the scaredest one, and
yeah,
nobody
and
else
I
is scared.
love it because 'cause I'm
Oh,
focused on you being like a scaredy cat. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever." It's
that's probably why I have the worst time.
yeah, you're terrified, like,
I'm
peeing your
dying.
pants, and I'm
Yeah.
all like, "This is great." I had a great
Oh.
time. I don't know about you guys.
Oh my
So,
god, I gotta
it's
come
my
spend
favorite thing.
Halloween with you next year.
Oh my god. Yes, I literally am not even done packing the candy bags. I hand out, like, over 300 bags of candy a year, and
Oh
it's like
my
those little,
gosh.
like, like, snack-sized bags of candy, like, I pre-fill
Oh,
them
you're the
because
nice lady.
oh my god, dude. I
You
go
are the best lady on
ham.
the street.
I'm all like, "Boom, boom, boom, boom." We're building our haunted house. This is my dream come true. We're building a haunted house that the kids can, like, walk through and, like, get all, scared in. It's gonna be kid friendly because I need my
Yeah.
two-year-old to be able to go through it.
Mhm,
Um, but I'm so excited. It's like 15 feet long right now, but, like, next year, I wanna do it double that and just
mhm.
make it, like, terrifying.
You have,
But
like, a
not, like,
big
super
front lawn?
scary. Yeah,
Okay.
and a great backyard, like, huge.
Oh, wow.
I'm really lucky because I live on the corner.
Mm,
Okay, sorry about that. So,
mhm,
what happened to me, and I know that this was a paranormal experience, like a for sure paranormal experience, because
mhm.
this was a shared experience with two other people. So
Oh,
it
right.
wasn't just me, right? It
Yeah,
wasn't just
uh-huh.
me like, "Oh, hey," or one other person. Like, we truly did have several other people who acknowledged it and knew. And my mom also is extremely sensitive and an
Mm,
empath in the way that she can kinda tell the same way that I can tell, like, I just kind of have this, like, intuition about things, which is why I love the paranormal because I just know, like, certain things and feel certain things, right? I don't
yeah.
think I'm, like, a medium level person or, like, a psychic person, I'm just, like,
Are
I
you, like,
trust my gut.
clairvoyant? 'Cause
No, fuck no, I don't think so.
oh, no.
I would
Maybe,
be
like, a
terrified.
tad bit of it.
I think I am, but I'm not open to it, right? Because 'Cause I'm actually, like, terrified of the paranormal, like, if I watch ghost stories or if I watch, like, paranormal shows,
Mhm,
and I love watching them by myself because I love being scared,
mhm.
um, I can't move off of my bed, and I've been like that since I was little, like, starting to watch, like, Unsolved Mysteries,
Yeah.
I would, like, watch it and just be, like, into it, and I'd be like, why am I doing this to myself?" And I'd just be, like, watching it, the lights it starts to get dark, so I would just, like, yell for my grandma to come because I lived with her, and so I would call her and I'd be like, "Ma'am, mama," and she'd come and she'd be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "Okay, good. Can you turn on the light? I need to go pee." Like, I would not get off the bed for anything. I'd be like, "I'm dying on this bed. I don't know what to tell you because I am
Oh my
not
god,
getting off
Lainey.
this bed." It was so bad. So that's how I am now, but now I do it to my husband. I'm like, I can't get out this bed. I hope my kid doesn't need anything because 'cause I'm
Yeah, I hope they
terrified.
don't need me.
'Cause I will not save you. Um,
You're on your own, kid.
sorry,
You're
ghost
on your
God,
own.
and that's one thing that terrifies me is, like, if my daughter ever sees anything, I'm like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm burning this house down with
I have
us
a
in it."
funny story for you. It's not
Tell me.
funny, but a relative story. Okay, so the other night, what we were watching Haunting of Hill House again. We started
With
rewatching
your
it.
child, Natalie?
No, no, no. He was upstairs sleeping. Chris and I were downstairs watching the show. We go upstairs. He's like, we have like a sleeping schedule, so like, Chris will sleep with him for like a certain amount of the night, and then we'll switch. I'll wake up and then
Mhm.
he'll sleep with him, and then he'll sleep for work because he gets up earlier than me. So I the next day he tells me that Ezra, my son, he gets up in the middle of the night, and his bed is in the corner, and across from it is his closet, and
Ew.
his closet doors are glass, or sorry,
I was
mirrors,
like, "What?"
mirrors.
Okay, mirrors.
He gets up, like, literally, like,
Mhm.
sleeping and goes like this, and, like, starts whining. But we just try to,
That's just you, babe.
we try to
Yeah,
rationalize it, and, like, maybe he just, like, got up and just saw himself and was like, "Who is that?"
yeah.
Or he's pointing in the direction of, like, where I would come from. So the
Mm,
same side of his closet doors is where the door is,
doors
so I
at.
would like, typically walk through the door. So, like, I don't know if he's crying for
Sure,
me, pointing for me to come
sure,
in, but that's
sure.
how we rationalized it. And then,
And
but
he's all
when
like, "Y'all, do you not see the soldier here?"
also no, this is a different house. We're in a different house now, new
Well,
house.
you know they can travel, so well, your husband, I mean, like, your husband lived in that house. I would be surprised if he didn't have something
Girl,
attached to him in some way. Not, like, in a bad way, like, I don't think it's all, like, negative at all. I think it's just,
yeah, that
like
I think that's new, yeah, for me to
yeah.
understand it's not always negative because my whole life it's always been negative.
Yeah, not everything is and also not everything is like an actual entity. Some of it's just residual. Like the
Mm,
event was
that's
so
true.
impactful that the energy itself is just repeating. So like
Mm.
the spirit itself could have like gone off to Timbuktu, or heaven, wherever.
Mm.
And already have, moved on from
Yeah,
that particular event, but the energy because of the event being so either traumatic or impactful could still be there. That's why I think, like, I don't like the
maybe.
insane asylums and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't believe that those are haunted by, like, actual entities. I just think that the energy is residual and that
Yeah,
they've moved on. Because like, who the hell would wanna
like with
stay in
jails.
Danhurst, Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, like, same thing. It's like, "Oh, hey."
Mhm.
I don't know, that's just me. So, yeah, maybe your son just saw an entity and was like, "Hey, guys." I'm just kidding. But I would hate that.
But
I
I
would hate that for
immediately
me.
was like, No evil spirit is allowed to stay in my house." Like, I voice like, I verbally and
Mhm.
I aggressively tell them they're not welcome here.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, "Bitch, if you ain't gonna pay rent, don't be, like,
Right.
coming in here scaring my son," you
Yes,
know?
exactly. Oh my gosh. So, okay, so this was in college,
Yeah.
my first one of my paranormal stories. I have several of them.
Oh, yes.
I'm a haunted person.
I never
Um,
I wanna hear it
yeah,
all.
it's weird. So, this was in college, and I was living with my 2 college roommates at the time. Again, I would never recommend this with anybody. Like, don't move in with your friends when you're in college. Don't live with your
Why?
sorority sisters. It's just a nightmare,
Okay.
and it should not be done. But if you have positive experiences, then wonderful, and this message is not for you. But if you have a semblance of, like, order and whatever, then don't live with your friends because 'cause it'll just, like, dramatically change your life.
That's true.
Um,
I've
and
heard
not in
that
the
too.
best way sometimes, like, sometimes it's just,
Mhm.
like, it's friendship ending because 'cause you're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god," like, living with people is such a huge commitment. You think it's not always fun, like, when you're young like that, you think, "Oh my god, this is gonna be the best time ever. We're gonna party every
Mhm.
weekend. We're gonna do this," and you're like, "Wait, who didn't clean the dishes? Like,
Who
who didn't
didn't
take
take out
out
the
the
garbage?
trash?" Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, like, it's all that stuff, so,
Yeah.
you gotta find people who are responsible like you, like, everybody has to be on the same
Page.
mindset in
Yeah.
terms of, like, wanting to have a clean and orderly home, right?
Mhm.
Um, and pay bills. Not that we ran into any of that. We were just like, it was not aligned for us to be together. Like at least two of us should not have been living together. Christina, we're adding her.
Oh,
Hello.
hey. Can you
Oh my
hear
god.
me?
Hello.
Yes. Oh my
Hi.
god. The return of Lechucita and Putita.
No, not Putita.
Yes. So this is Natalie. She is a podcast host of the Deep Dive Convos podcast. And Christina, I was just talking about on the podcast I recently guested on called A Spooky Tales.
Yes.
I literally conned my way on there because I stalked them
Yes.
relentlessly. And then I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm free if you ever need a
It was
host.
so fast.
And she's like, oh, can you do this week? Absolutely. She was
That's
hoping I would
awesome.
say no. She'd be like,
No, no,
are you free
nonsense.
or no?
Like I told you, I'm like,
This
why
is the
haven't
only
I
day I
asked
have.
you?
Exactly. I still don't know. I'm offended. And I
I
heard
know.
your sister on the latest one, so I was like,
Yeah, but she hadn't listened. She hadn't
cute.
finished the episode yet. Later, she messaged me and she was like, not your guest coming from my spot.
Yes, girl, I'm coming for it. I told her. Her sister's the unofficial official co-host. Like every time her other co-host MJ, who we miss but knows will not do live streams, is off the show for whatever reason, like any obligation she has, her sister comes on, who's also her twin. Her
Oh, that's
Yeah.
gemela, as
awesome.
they say. And I was like, I'm coming for her because I want to be
Coming
the
for a job.
official. I'm coming. I want to be the
Official.
official guest co-host and stuff.
You're
Um, so we were
supposed
talking
to be the
about the.
co-host on my.
I know. I listen.
You
I'm
have too
booked
many
and
jobs,
busy,
girl.
You
y'all.
have
Feel
co-host
free. No,
positions everywhere.
You're right.
I'm
Everywhere.
just like, hi. I'll have you on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Okay. That works.
So
We'll
I
share
was
you.
like, right, I was telling them about the ghost story from my apartment with my sorority sisters and stuff. And that one in particular was where I made the mistake of acknowledging the entity or the spirit, right? Like everything I was
Oh.
reading online afterwards was like, don't give it a name, don't
And you
acknowledge
were
it. And I
like,
was
oh,
like,
hey,
her name is
Putito.
Gloria.
Gloria.
Like, that's what I named her. I was like, her name's
What?
Gloria. And I would like walk in, I'd be like, hey, Gloria, or whatever, just like, because I cope through humor when I'm uncomfortable or like when I'm
Yeah.
scared. So I always just like do stupid things like that. I'll be like, hey, entities, what's up? Like, hey, like, if you watch Ghost Files, where he's like, hey, demons, it's your boy. Where he's just like, is like, hey, what's up? So we were talking about that. And my roommate at the time, I was explaining to Christina and MJ on the show that she was one of the hardest working people I have ever met in my life, next to
Mhm.
my grandmother, right? Like
Yeah.
she was in college, same age as me. She worked two jobs, one full-time, one part-time. She took care of her younger sibling. She paid her parents' mortgage, and she also paid rent at our apartment.
Oh
So like
my
she was
goodness.
nonstop, just like working and doing
Man.
whatever.
Boom, boom,
Like,
boom, boom, boom.
yeah, and that like within our culture, like she's Mexican too, just like me.
Mhm.
Like within our culture, that's just what you do. Like
Yeah.
you support your family and you do what you need to do to make sure your family's okay because her parents, you know, immigrated here from Mexico, so they didn't have like a ton to be able to make things happen for themselves and their family. So
Mhm.
like it was like a pooled resources kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um so one day she's studying on her floor. And this is a girl who like me, you tell me like I'm tired, I'm like, I'm going to bed at 12. I ain't studying. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still managed to pass. Like for her, grades obviously were super important because it meant that she could get things because of it.
Yeah.
Um, so she was laying down on the floor. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning and she fell asleep. Then she feels this pressure on the middle of her back. And she's like, it wakes her up. So she looks behind her back because she's like this on the floor, stomach down. And she looks behind her and she sees these two little like legs, like one on each side of her. She's just like this and like this. And it's just like a toddler's legs, like your kid's legs, you know? And she's like, that's weird. And it's just like bouncing on her back kind of thing. And she's just like, okay, this is creepy. So she doesn't wake me up because if she did, I would have died. But she waits until the next morning and she's like, I have something to tell you. And I was like, okay, what? And she tells me the whole thing. And I was like, I am so glad you didn't wake me up. But I told her, like, why didn't you wake me up? Like, what would I have done? I would have been like,
Yeah.
I'm terrified. Stay out of my room. You're haunted. Like, I don't want you to be around me.
You're on your own.
So, yeah, he was like, sorry, girl. So after that, I called my mom and I'm like, my mom's like, oh no, it's like a kid entity. So like, it doesn't have any like bad intentions. It's just, it knows she needs to like relax or she needs to be chill. So it's just being playful with her. And I was like, okay, well, can it not be playful with her?
At
'Cause,
3 in the morning?
Can it
Come
stop?
on.
yeah, can it go back to its parents? To the other
Or
side? Do we need to help it pass on? Like,
or can
what's
you just, like,
happening?
roll a ball or something, like, not get
I'm not
physical?
playing with this shit.
Yeah.
No, not at all. So she's like, she's like, I don't know what to do. My mom's like, oh, sage, I do whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I get sage and I do the whole thing. And we buy these bakwas, which are like concave mirrors that like redirect entities to go
Mhm,
away from you. Like anything negative, like goes away from you and only positive energies come.
love
So we
that.
got those and stuff, but then dummy us were still, like, walking around like, "Oh, Gloria, do you hear Gloria?" Whatever. Like, idiot, and she's just like, "You guys, I thought you wanted me to leave. You keep inviting me back."
Yeah,
Sure, I'll come
say
back.
my
Whatever.
name.
She's like, "Hey." She's all
Say it
Beyonce,
again,
Destiny's
please.
Child. Right, she's our Beetlejuice. Um, so she walks over, not Gloria, Maria. And she walks over to me and she's just like, um, "I've been, like, hearing stuff in my room and I'm a little like I'm scared basically, she's like
Mhm,
it reminds me of this time like Maria was a severely haunted person. Like she had a witch scratcher when she was younger, like so like her family like literally took her back to Mexico to go to like a curandera to get this like witch's curse lifted from her and the stuff because all this bad stuff was happening to her after this witch like scratched her and everything. She saw like a dead child entity by like an air conditioner when she was living in Reading, Pennsylvania. And I was like, why are you telling me this?
and after
Why?
we have moved in together.
I know. I was like, why? And she's literally the room right next to me. So I was like, oh my God.
Oh,
So she
no.
stopped staying at the house because she was like constantly like just being not terrorized by this, I mean, because as a kid, but she was just
Mhm.
constantly, like, seeing it, hearing things, and so she started staying at her house more often, and then she was like, "I think I need to move out because, like, when our lease is up because I can't stay here, like, it's becoming too much."
Oh,
So
wow.
she ended up moving out, she was still paying rent, so she ends up moving out. So it's just me and my other roommate, and at that point, I'm
You
like,
guys still
"Okay."
stayed
Well, yeah,
after
we
she
couldn't
moved
break
out?
a lease.
Oh,
I ain't rich, Natalie.
I'm sorry, yeah, you're right, you're right. What am I thinking?
Yeah, I was like, we still
Privilege.
had it we only had, like, a few months left, so it wasn't a big deal, and after that, I was like, "God, I never wanna live here again anyways."
Yeah.
Not with her, especially. I was like, "You left me with this one? Like, did we
Out of
both
that
leave?"
out of anyone.
I know, I was like, "I'd rather have Gloria just be my roommate than the other one." Like, at least I know what I'm
Oh,
getting.
man.
So her experience, the roommate who ended up staying, she had the biggest room because she also had her kid with her and stuff like that. And she was studying on her bed. She had her papers all laid out, and the joke was, like, her room was always so cold, and we're like, "That's where Gloria lives," because like, her room was always cold, and she
Oh.
wouldn't, like, ever have the fan on and never got hot, and so she just, like, had no airflow in there, like, regularly. It was always just, like, chilly, so it was, like, kinda perfect, right? If you're, like,
Mhm,
hot-natured, it's, like, the perfect room you wanna be in.
mhm.
So, you she said she was sitting on her bed studying one day, and then this big whoosh of wind comes up and, like, just, like, through the papers or whatever, like, somebody just walked by and was like, "Boom," through the papers or whatever,
Oh,
and she was
God.
just like she was the type of person who, like, did not believe in the paranormal, but was like, "Just in case." She
Mhm.
was like, "Gloria, stop it," or whatever, and, like, I was like, "Why did you say anything?" Because after I learned you're not supposed to, like, acknowledge or give a name, I was like, "Stop talking to her, stop giving her any, like, energy," so when she said that, I was like, "Oh my god, of course this bitch
Now
said
she's
something."
back.
I was
I'm
like and now she's
back.
like, "Yeah, I gotcha." Um, so I came home late one night from a shift because I worked 2 jobs too. I was, like, full-time, at my university job, and then I was like, "I like money, so I'm gonna work another job at night. I
Mhm.
don't have a life." So I came home from the restaurant job I was working, it was, like, midnight-ish, and I go into my room, and I lay down, And the way my bed was situated is like my door was right in front of me, my bed was along the wall right in front of the window, and then my closets were to my right and stuff like that. So I hear this knocking right by my closet, like a,
Mm-mm.
and I was like, oh, neighbor. Like our neighbors were pretty loud and stuff. So I thought it was like our neighbor. And then it like progressively started knock, 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 knock all the way along the wall until it like literally got to above my head and was like knock.
No.
And I was like, done. So I was like so pissed, A, because I was scared. And I was like, get out. Like, don't do that or whatever. And then our
Yeah.
haunting stopped after that. Oh, we had the other thing. So me and my other roommate, when Maria left, were sitting out in the living room
Mhm.
and we had 2 couches, so, like, they were in an L shape or whatever, like, just 2 love seats, because we mixed our furniture together, and so I was sitting on one edge of the love seat, and she was sitting on the other love seat on the edge, and so we were right in the middle, but the arm was, like, right here, and
Mhm.
so we had the remote control in the middle between us, and we're watching this show, and we noticed the volume just start to go from, like, 20 to, like, 80, 100, and then
Oh,
go
no.
all the way back down, and we just, like, looked at each other like, "Why did you do that?" And she was like, "I didn't touch the remote," and we look and both like, the remote's, like, right there in between us, and I was like, "I know I didn't do it," and so we were like, "Oh my god, like, this is too much," so after that, we were, like, more serious about ignoring it and not giving it any power. My mom came and was, like, blessing the house for us and doing, like, all of the stuff that I was like, I don't have the strength to do it, like, I don't have the, like, the bruja energy
You're
to,
not
like
powerful enough.
yeah, I'm not powerful enough whatsoever. So I was very, very nervous about that.
Thank God
But
for your mom.
yeah, for real. But Natalie was telling us before you joined Christina, and she's a newly integrated, paranormal person, right? So
Mhm.
Okay,
she
okay.
grew up in a
Yep.
really, like, religious household, so, of course, as you know, like, anything that's not of Jesus is of the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
she
too? Or you
girl,
did you
we're
grow up that way?
Mexican.
Oh, that's true.
No, no, I had friends though that, like, were not allowed to celebrate Halloween, they couldn't watch
Mhm.
Harry Potter, so then they did all that
Yeah.
stuff at our house.
That was the
Yeah.
same thing with me. I couldn't celebrate Halloween. I couldn't watch The Simpsons.
Oh, well, that's
Um,
Oh.
just
I couldn't
that's
watch
terrible.
Wizards of Waverly Place when that was, like,
Not the
big.
Disney Channel.
The Disney
Oh,
Channel!
Wow, they
I
were
love
strict.
I love Selena Gomez on Wizards of Waverly Place.
I
Oh
know,
my
My
gosh.
mother,
I missed
one of
out
my
on my
first
girl style.
crushes.
Mhm.
Damn, damn. Do you
Oh
see
my
what I'm
she's my
saying?
girl crush now.
So she was talking about how her mother-in-law's house is haunted, and I was like,
Yes.
"Well, has your husband like she scared her husband, like played a joke on him and scared him. And then the same thing literally happened to her, but nobody was there. And I was like, well, if your husband grew up in this house, like the entity is attached to him. So it's kind of like payback to be like, oh, you messed with my boy? Like I'm
Yeah,
gonna mess with you.
yeah.
Ew.
You think you can play pranks in this house
Hmm.
and not get pranked?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's one of your have you had paranormal experiences, right?
Yeah, I've had, like, 2, but I've said this so many times
Wait,
on
were
my
you
own
in the parking
podcast.
lot or not? Was yours in the
Yes,
park?
that
Yes.
was one
Okay,
of
that was
mine,
weird.
yeah. And then the other one was when we were younger, but my children are screaming.
That's
Let me
okay. That's scary.
they're probably fine, right? I don't
That's
know.
a good background
I was
noise.
like, "Is anybody
Yeah,
else
right?
scared?
It sets
Because
the
maybe
scene.
you can
There's
go
actually
check."
no children in this house. I don't know who's screaming. No.
We're all scared. That's the thumbnail, right? Because you know how they do. They're just like,
I
"Oh,
always
what?" Like
pick the
all the
most, like
paranormal.
I look for whenever Carmen's making a weird face. I'm like,
She's
"Perfect.
like,
That's the one I want for the thumbnail."
"That's the one. That is too much."
No, but I always say on my own podcast that Carmen and I are like closed off. Like everyone else has all these ghost stories. My mom, my dad, all of our extended family, my brother, like they see
Mhm.
shadow people, like little like ghosts, hear voices, and like we we grew up in this house in Oakland, and it was like everyone had a story about the house, and of course I didn't know about it until I was like
Well,
way older.
weren't you, like, afraid to go into your brother's room? Or you like,
He
what
was afraid.
afraid
I was
to
fine
go
in
in
there. I don't know why he was so scared of going in there, but
you're like,
like,
"Why are you a chicken,
yeah,
bro?"
there was like all the rooms were on this side. Like the kitchen was in the middle, and then all the rooms were in the hallway on this side, and then one single room was on the other side, and that was his on the kitchen. It
Oh
was
my
the only
god.
room there. I'm like, why is it so far from the other rooms? It became a playroom because he would not sleep in there, but it was always colder in there. That part I
See?
remember, but
Wow.
other than that, I don't know.
Dang. You can go
Oh, I
check on your
see.
child if you need.
They're oh
Being
no.
mean to each other because that's what mine
Yeah, he's on
do.
this little like thing that scoots with wheels, whatever they're called, and then the other one has like a bungee cord. I don't know where he got it, and he's holding the end, so
He's just
then
like
the
dragging him
little one
around.
can't scoot away. Let me go take it
I
Mom
love
duties.
that, right? Oh my gosh.
So
So
good.
that's so funny that she says that because in my family, we're kind of the opposite. We are all very like in tune to the surroundings of like what our life is like from my grandmother, even before that. I'm sure my mom would know, like even my great grandfather, like my grandma's father and stuff like
Mhm.
haunted. And same for like my biological father's sides. Like we've all had these kind of paranormal experiences um and stuff. And it was just kind of really interesting. I think that's probably why I've enjoyed being a part of the paranormal community and like
Yeah.
investigating it because it's been so ingrained in my family and ingrained in me.
Yeah.
I'm talking like when I was in middle school, like me and my mom, so like grew up poor, whatever. And my mom
Well,
would be like,
same.
we're like, same,
Mhm.
poor folks. Shout out to the poor people. um,
Hashtag poverty.
right? Hashtag poverty, because that's what I grew up in.
Yes.
I
But me and
returned, and all I heard was poverty.
yeah, shout
It
out.
builds character.
It does. Yeah, I grew up in the ghetto too.
Yeah,
Hey,
Shout out
same.
Oakland.
poverty bitches.
Shout
Just
out
kidding.
Irving.
Shout out Hamilton, Ontario.
We're all like, it's Canada. How bad
I
can
was
it
like,
be?
what is that?
You
She's
don't
in
want to know.
Canada.
Trust me.
No, actually, I do because I mean, like, I do know because true crime cases have happened in
Mhm.
True.
Hamilton, Ontario. So
So
there we go.
many.
Um,
Okay.
but hello from Germany. Look at that. That's
Whoa,
so
I spent
cool.
some
That's
time
so
Hi.
in there.
nice. My mom said food stamp survivor. Shout out. Shout out to selling your food stamps. Don't do that. That's illegal and I would never recommend doing that. Um so we we part of like being ingrained in this whole community and stuff is just like leaning on stories from our past. And my mom would like, because we were so poor, like the best she could do in terms of like vacations was like, let's go on road trips. And thank God Texas is huge because you literally can go like 6-10 hours and you're like still in Texas.
That's
But
so cool.
That is terrible.
I know, I was
One
like, it sucks
time,
because you're like 12 hours there and you're like, oh my God, I'm still
yeah,
here.
I was in basic training, and it was such a scam. They only let us buy tickets back home
Yeah.
using whatever service the army had, and there was no way to get to Modesto by airplane because at the time my
Really?
family was on Modesto. Yeah, through whatever broke ass service the army used, there was no way for me to get from San Antonio, Texas to Modesto, California. And then we didn't have our phones, so they didn't let us look up our own flights. So
Oh
I had to buy a
no.
Greyhound ticket
Shut
Oh,
your
not a Greyhound.
mouth. Oh
from
my
San Antonio,
God.
Texas, all the way to Modesto, California. I spent 2 days on the bus.
2
Some
days?
old, yeah, 2 days pretty much. The first day we were still in Texas.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me because you're going from San Antonio to El Paso, right, to get out and
Yeah,
Abilene and
yeah,
stuff. So, like, literally the like kind of the southeast of Texas, all the way up to like never eat sorry, the west
yeah.
of Texas.
Wow.
That was
Yeah, you'll be
miserable.
in Texas for a full day, depending on
Yeah,
where you
I
travel for
really was.
sure.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was. I
It's
don't
like that.
recommend.
Don't recommend Texas in general, but
Yeah,
especially for road trips.
yeah, yeah.
um, so she would take me on road trips and be like, "Hey, where do you want to go or whatever?" And I don't know if you guys know who Hans Holzer is.
That sounds familiar.
Proclaimed and very famous. What?
Are you good?
Yeah, what's happening?
Parsival is a little drunk, as you can see in our chat,
Oh,
and this was their comment.
Don't shave your head.
Oh.
I
It's
mean,
not.
no, absolutely shave your head. I
Oh.
don't have a cigarette, though, because we don't smoke
No.
Yeah, I haven't
cigarettes.
smoked in like 8 years,
God,
so
forever. Like, when I
I
was a
only smoke
server,
the
that's
devil's
all I did.
lettuce.
that's
What'd you say?
I only
Go
smoke
get
the
your blunt.
devil's lettuce.
Yeah, go get a blunt or something and do that. It's not legal here in Texas, and I don't break the law ever, so
You're such a good
good for you to be
girl.
a law-abiding citizen like
look at
that.
me.
I
Yeah.
But
am
I have a
too.
gun. Boom, boom. Just kidding. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew, pew.
I am a
That's so
law-abiding
funny.
citizen by doing what is legalized.
Allowed, right? Well, yeah, you have it legal there, so it's great.
Just kidding.
So
Sorry.
Hans Holzer is a proclaimed paranormal investigator and author and stuff. Like he's pretty
Oh.
much. I mean, sure you've seen his books because if you've ever read, like ghost stories about particular hauntings in terms of like hospitals or schools or towns and cities, he's likely written them because he's investigated them.
Oh,
Okay.
Um,
okay.
so he's huge in the
Yeah,
paranormal
he sounds
world.
so familiar.
Yeah, as soon as you see, like, if you Google him
Yeah,
and
let
you
me do
see one
that.
of his books, you'll be like, "Okay, I've seen the book in Barnes&
I
and Noble for
would
sure."
Google him, but I forgot the name you just said.
Hans Holzer, Hanz. I think he's
Hans Holzer.
yeah, Hans, sorry.
Hans.
Holzer is with a Z. I'll type it in the chat so everybody can see it.
Okay, let's
I
see.
don't
Oh,
know
he
if
did
he's
like all the
German,
scary
so shout
books.
out to, Parsival if he is German. The spirit of Hans is here. Um
Oh, I see.
But you've seen, like, his books and stuff, right? So, I told my mom, I was like, "I wanna go to, like, every haunted location in Texas, and I want to
Why are you the
investigate it."
coolest kid ever?
I don't know. I've had way less fear than I do now because now I'd be like, "Hell no, I ain't going there." Um, but I did. I was like, "I wanna do that." So she took me, like, on this haunted tour of Texas, and I would just pick from my book and
That's
go, "I
awesome.
wanna
That's
go to
the
San
best mom ever.
Antonio, go to the Majestic Theater, and see it." And I would stand outside the Majestic, like, since I lived in San Antonio now, I'm like, "What a fucking nerd." 'Cause I stood outside
What
the
a
Majestic,
tourist.
and I was like, "Ghost boy, I'm here. Just show me who you are. Just show me in
Show
the
me a
window. Like, I just
sign.
wanna see you." And I would literally stand outside, and my mom would just stop. Like, we wouldn't, like, full-fledged park anywhere. She would just, like, stop, let me out really quick, and I'd be like, "Okay, I only have, like, 5 minutes. I wanna see you." She'd
Okay,
just
that's
be like,
adorable.
"Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up, kiddo."
Oh my
So
god.
so I thought that was really funny, and now I'm like, I'm super appreciative of that because, like, me as an adult now, I'd be like, "You for real want me to take you on a ghost hunting trip across Texas?" Like, I'm gonna pass.
Yeah.
But it was, like, great, and she also is, like, a believer in the paranormal, so that was a lot of fun, to engage in that kind of behavior.
She
Have you
probably
done
knew
any
how to protect
paranormal
herself.
investigations?
Oh, sorry. Are
No,
you
I
asking
want
both of us?
to.
Oh.
Either
I
one
don't
of
know.
you?
I was like, who's I'll just answer. No,
Both of my guests, because 'cause I'm a great interviewer.
you are. Yeah, no, I've tried to find places to go here and then what's it
But aren't
called?
you in Oregon?
I'm in across the bridge from Portland, Oregon. So it's the last city in Vancouver or in Washington. So
Vancouver.
yeah, every time I say Vancouver, I have to actually when I met Corinne and Sabrina, Corinne was like, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in Vancouver." And she was like, "Vancouver's that close?" And I was like, "No, wait. Sorry,
Not
Washington,
Canada.
not Canada." And she's like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah, you have to
Gotcha.
tell everybody that like
My friends are gonna
so
move there because it's way cheaper than living in Oregon, living across in Washington.
I don't know that it's not different now, especially Vancouver. We
Mm.
keep going
Vancouver is
south
hella
though.
expensive.
You're like, "People stop coming to Vancouver. It's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, it's so
be more
expensive
expensive."
now. It's so
No, it
crowded.
is.
No,
Even when I
I sound like
went,
a boomer.
like, the
Right.
difference between provinces of Ontario and, like, British Columbia in
Mhm.
prices is, like, so significant. Like, you need to make at least, like, $25 an hour over there to now, actually, I don't even know. Maybe
That's obscene
$30
that
an
people
hour?
don't make a minimum of $25 an hour because the
Yeah,
$25 an hour is literally nothing.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
That's
that's
yeah,
well,
nothing.
yeah,
nothing now.
that's true.
But
Like
I tried to go to Old Town Pizza in Portland,
Uh-huh.
because the restaurant is haunted, and then they do like the underground tunnel
Ooh.
tour. So it's not an
Ooh.
investigation; it's a
Yeah.
tour. And that was fun. I didn't see anything. I was like
Well, because 'cause you're
recording and
closed
trying to
off,
take
so,
pictures.
like
Exactly. And my mom, she's like nauseous the whole time we were there, and she was like, I turned the phone because I was like recording like just around, and she was in front of me. She was like, "Don't record me." She's like, "I don't want anything behind me on video. Don't take pictures
She's
of
like,
me. I
"No, I
don't
already
want."
feel
She's
it.
like,
Don't let me do
I don't wanna
it."
see
"Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah." Because she has stories for days. There's one story that I've heard like part of it my whole life, but I've never finished her story because it scares me so much, and I'm like, I need to
Call
record
your
it.
mother right now.
No, her story scares me,
Don't
and then
do it right
Yeah,
the thought
I
of
now.
wanna hear
translating
this.
it,
Okay, well,
it's
just take your
basically
headphones off.
no,
That won't
no.
help because she's on the phone. That's a joke.
Yeah, yeah, it's not it's so scary. She like I said
Give
I'm gonna
me
make it a
cliff
movie.
notes on it.
It's gonna be called The Haunting of Maria.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, I'm listening to that book that you guys recommended, The
The
Haunting of
Haunting of
Alejandra.
Alejandra.
It's
Oh
so
man,
good,
it is
but
so good
also it's really
and
good, so
depressing
it is
and
very sad.
infuriating.
Yeah, her
Okay, you
husband pisses me off. It's all like, "You don't need anything, you just need me," and I was like, "Shut the fuck up,
Are you
Matthew."
listening to the audiobook?
Yes,
You just did his voice like spot on.
I know. I
That
practiced
did
because
you
I
read the
do it.
audiobook? No.
No, right?
Did you narrate it?
It
Was
was
that you?
me, hi.
it was your voice. That's her
Alejandra. I
voice
know,
acting.
right? No, it's because I narrate
Oh man.
audiobooks because 'cause I'm a voice actor. So I was like, I like to mimic them when I hear, like, men's voices to help with my, like, thing. So it'd be
Yeah.
like, "You don't need," because it sounds like you think it'd be, like, so hard. I remember my very first audiobook that I did, I was like, "I gotta look up how to do this accent." Nightmare. "I gotta look up how to do this accent and how to do that," and I was just like, "Oh," and I could never remember the voices, so I'd literally have a catchphrase that I'd use and be like, "Oh, the foil's on the stove," or something like that, or something like that, that I could remember in the voice, and I'd be like,
Oh
"Hi,
man.
I'm blah, blah, blah. Hi, I'm Red," or something like that, so I was like, "Oh my god, don't ever listen to my audiobooks and tell me you listen to them," because it was literally a nightmare for me to be like,
That's
I'm
funny.
sure they
"Please
sound
don't do it."
great.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't know, I've literally never listened to them because I'm terrified that they sound terrible.
Oh
So
man.
I'm like, I'm not I listen to my shows because I like my content, like, I make a
Yeah.
show for myself, so I'm all like, "Oh, hey,"
Same.
I like to hear it kind of after everything's been edited because I don't listen to it. I do all the recording and then I send it off to get edited and stuff, and so I like hearing it afterwards and going like, "Oh, Nico did a great job, like, good for
Mhm.
him.
Mhm.
Great job, Lainey, reading that script."
High
Um,
five.
High five me, good job. But, yeah, it was, interesting, but what's the Cliff Notes version of your mom's story?
So she was I think she was like 10 or 11 maybe. Could have been older because I can't remember the exact details, but she was like in church, and for some reason she was like praying, and she was like, "Oh, I want to help someone like cross over." Um
Why?
and I don't know. I truly do not know.
Why was
She
she
was
trying to
weird.
ghost whisper it?
I don't know. I have no idea. And there was always where they lived, there was always stories of like apparitions, and like Mexico's full of stories of like treasures in people's houses, and you have to like dig up, but it's cursed and things like that. So there was
I
always
Yeah.
love
stories.
that. I love
Yeah.
that.
There were stories like that where she lived, but after she did that, after she prayed that for whatever reason, she started seeing an apparition of like a half burned man um in her like first it was her dreams, but then it was
Oh,
like
hell
physical
no.
Freddy Krueger?
pretty much. But like I guess it was like so charred that parts of his body were like
No.
black.
No.
Oh,
Oh god,
Yeah,
yikes.
worse. Worse than
yeah.
Freddy Krueger.
And
Barbecued version.
yeah, then like everybody in the family saw it at one point or another, and like they could not get rid of it. And
So,
yeah,
like,
that was
it
like the super
So
attached
short
she
itself to
explanation.
her.
manifested it.
Yeah,
She
Yikes.
yeah.
literally manifested.
Okay, so, like, who was she trying to cross over?
Anyone, whoever
Oh,
listened.
just, like, in
We
general.
just
She
like
was just
said
like,
it in
"Hey,
church during a
guys."
prayer. Yeah. She's like, "Oh God, it would be great if you like sent me someone to help cross over." And
No.
then what maybe whatever thing was like just like
Was
over
listening?
was eavesdropping and was like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
my chance."
No,
Yeah.
thanks. I'm gonna
Yeah.
pass. I'm gonna be like, "Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't help you. I'm not strong enough. I don't know what's
No.
beside me." Okay, mom.
I'm
Why
really
would
bad
you
at
do that?
directions. I don't know where to go. Sorry.
I
Like,
cannot
"Hi,
help.
is
Yeah.
this the, burn unit or no?" Like, it's just, like, constantly just
You actually have to
asking.
keep going, like, past the me,
She's
like,
all like, "To the
actually.
left,
Yeah.
actually. That's where
Yeah.
they're doing the skin graft." No, you okay, now you're just gonna
The girl
stay?
over there.
Right. Oh my god,
Uh,
my mom said it sounds like she was a portal and someone found her as an easy target.
Pretty
Oh, yes.
much.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. I
So my
truly
mom's,
believe
like,
that.
super intuitive and everything, so, like, she can literally, like, read people's energies off of photographs and stuff, so and it's helped a lot in terms of, kind of protecting yourself from people and individuals and stuff, like, especially within the podcasting industry. I think we've all or seen it happen before where, like, you have creators who are, like, really great and beloved, and then they turn out to be shit shows behind the scenes
Oh,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. My mom can read people's energies, like, incredible, so it saved me a lot of grief to be like, "I just don't wanna associate with you," or, like, "I just don't wanna know you because 'cause I'm pretty ingrained, at least within the true crime community and stuff like
Mhm.
that, pretty ingrained in that community, and so it is very, like, difficult sometimes to manage those relationships with people because you're just
Mm.
like, "I
Like,
don't
is
want
it worth
to."
managing? Like,
Yeah, no, it's
type of
not.
thing? Yeah.
Most often, it is not. My mom said, she didn't ground herself, and that's probably why she was targeted.
Yeah, and she didn't know
Well, I mean, you
better.
wouldn't know, right? You were just
But being
Yeah,
thinking,
in
"Oh, I'm helping."
she was a child, yeah.
but, like, being in church,
Ugh.
does that not ground you? Being in
No,
church?
That's one of the
no.
most haunting places,
Yeah. It's
I
Girl!
also not
think.
real. Like, it
Yeah.
What's not
I mean,
real?
true like church, it's not real. Like, it was not created if you're a Christian and you believe in God, right? I'm not
Mhm.
saying don't believe in God or that God is not real. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that a church is not real. Like,
Oh, yes, the
yeah, like, it's just a
theatrics
building.
around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
building that has relics in it
Mhm.
that supposedly are blessed by people who believe they have some understanding or power that's bestowed upon them by God, which does not actually exist in my opinion.
Mhm.
Not God. I mean, like, do you believe in JC if you
Like
want to?
like blessed
Yeah,
things, yeah.
#blessed if it's all about you, no problem. I'm just saying, like, a brick and mortar thing is not how you protect yourself. Like, you can't walk into a church and go, "I'm protected," because it follows you wherever you go. So, like, if you
That'd
invite
be
it
true.
in, it will be there and stuff like
Mm.
that. You just have to believe that it doesn't. Um, do you guys
So it's, like,
listen or
all in
know
here,
of
eh?
Holly Weird Paranormal, the podcast?
That
And
sounds
Tammy?
familiar again, but
So,
Yeah,
not
I
listen.
Tammy's
we're
on
mutuals on TikTok.
yes, I was like, Tammy's on TikTok. She's a LA haunted girl. And we had a
Here, I gotta look that up.
conversation. She's a great creator, highly recommend.
Yeah.
And because she works in a haunted, like, place in LA because she's a seamstress or whatever for costumes and, LA things.
That is
Uh,
so cool.
yeah, she's
Super cool.
one of the coolest people I know, next to me. Um,
Yeah, next to you, absolutely.
I mean, we think we can all agree, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but she was saying because I was like, "I'm terrified. I've never done a paranormal investigation, like a real one, where I was going with somebody I trusted and not a part of, like, a ghost tour or something, where you're not going to get any type of actual interaction because there are so many people who don't believe in it and the energy's just off. Like, you have
Right.
to have people who are all aligned in the mindset when you're doing, an investigation and stuff. And so I was telling her, I was like, "I'm really scared to do a actual investigation." Like, probably the only person I would ever do it with would be her because
Mm.
she's legit and stuff like that. Like, she doesn't,
Does she have, like, all
um
of the devices?
well, that and she's also just, like, she's into debunking stuff. Like, she'd be like, "Oh,
More
it's
Mhm.
not this," or,
skeptic?
like, yeah, she's
Mm.
definitely aligned with, like, making sure that it's not just, like, telling people that this is haunted because this is the story that's been passed around forever. Like, she actually does, like, real investigations and stuff. And she was like, "If you invite it in, then it's going to happen. Like, something will follow you home if you walk into the place going, 'Something's gonna follow me home,' because you've just essentially, like, acknowledged that it could happen, and you've invited it to happen. So if you go in believing, 'It ain't gonna happen to me,' then it won't happen to you."
Ah,
And I was like, "Dang, that's super powerful," and it makes me feel, like, a little bit more empowered and not as scared to do an investigation because I really wanna do one. Like, I wanna get a bunch of paranormal creators together and do
I
our own,
would
like,
love that.
thing, like
Yes,
MTV
yeah.
Fear style, because I loved MTV Fear. Like, one of my favorite shows. I wanna
Is
do
that, like,
that.
in the dark with, like, the light only the light from the
Mhm.
camera?
Yeah, and it's like always like gray and black or green, the green filter
Ugh.
Yeah,
on
like
and or like
nighttime
Night
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 vision
vision?
and
vision.
stuff. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
That's exactly what I wanna do. So I'm like,
Blair
"I
Witch
gotta get it."
style?
yeah.
Yeah,
No.
somebody has to sob and start,
I would
You
do
know
that.
that
I
was
oozing
wouldn't start
me.
bugs out
crying.
of their noses.
I honestly
Immediately
don't think
me.
I would see anything because I'm so closed off
But
that
that's
like,
why we would need you
yeah,
so that you are
yeah.
like, "Guys, why are you
Or I would
freaking
just
out?
miss it and because I'm
We
like
Not
have
not
the
paying
here."
attention.
skeptic, the scaredy cat, and then the one that likes to laugh at the scaredy cat, so,
Yeah.
like, we're good.
I
That's
am
enough energy
definitely.
to manifest something.
Yes, I love it. A little
Hold on,
baby.
Sammy. You're sweet.
Aw.
I freaking love it. So, I wanted to share one of the stories we got, submitted into It's Haunted What Now because I
BRB.
like to. He's all like, "Hey, what's up?"
Hi,
Hi,
baby.
little baby. We love babies on here.
Hi, baby.
Okay,
Let's
I
see,
guess he's just gonna sit there.
let him live
You're
his
gonna be a
life.
podcaster too?
Live his life. He's just like,
Oh,
Just
he
like
wants the
mommy?
headphones. No, they're mine.
he's like, "Bitch, they're mine."
No.
That's what my kid's
No.
like.
They're
He's like, "I need to
mine.
work in here with you."
Yeah.
Okay,
This
so let
is
me
my
see.
job.
So one time we had an individual submit a story to the podcast um, that said they encountered something at their friend's house one night that seems to hold deeply sinister intentions. And we did cover it in the podcast. It was actually episode 55 and it came from Lean Skinnity. And they said, I think my friend's house has a demon. This happened a few years back and is by far the most terrifying paranormal experience I've had in my life. I'm sure this phase is stated here, or this phrase is stated here a lot, but this experience is what made me believe. My friend Kyle and I were playing Halo Online when suddenly he went completely silent. I said his name and he shushed me, so I went quiet too. Can you hear that? He asked me. I couldn't. He told me that there was a loud ticking coming from inside the walls of his game room. I thought it was weird, but thought it was probably a mouse or the air conditioning or something like that. A few days later, I went over to his house near midnight. He started hearing the ticking again. This time we were in his bedroom, but he said it was very clearly coming from the game room. I still couldn't hear it, so he dragged me into the game room to listen. Still nothing. I remember that the game room was very hot, which was weird because the vent didn't have any issues. We could feel the cold air coming out of it, but the rest of the house was extremely cold, so that was the only room that had any heat. After some convincing, I agreed to turn the lights off so we could just sit there and listen. No, don't ever do that. We sat together on the floor in the dark, and instantly I was filled with anxiety, a feeling of dread that I'll never be able to explain. I didn't believe in the paranormal, and at this point, we didn't believe it was a ghost or a demon. He was just trying to get me to hear the noise. Finally, I started begging him to turn the lights back on. He agreed, but a few minutes later, we turned the lights off once more and tried again. My gut feeling was just terrible. I still couldn't hear the ticking, but the sense of dread mixed with the unbearable heat in that room made me certain that something was wrong. This time, I kept hearing whispers. I asked Kyle if he was talking, and he shushed me, telling me no. Finally, I heard it, the ticking. The whispers faded, and I could finally hear it. Suddenly, there was a thud. Kyle flicked on the lights, and a large stuffed toy shaped like a piece of cheese, something his family has a football team or something, so it's the Wisconsin Packers, like the Green Bay Packers,
Yeah.
had fallen off a shelf on the other side of the room. I walked over, put it back on the shelf, and then knocked it off myself. It didn't make nearly as loud of a noise. It hadn't fallen. Something had to have thrown it on the ground, hard for it to make the noise it had. At that point, both of us were pretty nervous, so we went to leave. As we headed to the door, we noticed a large family photo of him and his family had fallen to the floor. It had been taken in front of a church, with a large cross featured in the background, and the photo had fallen upside down, which meant the cross was upside down too. We turned the picture and the cross right side up. I'm not the religious type, but Kyle is, and at this point, I was just going along with it because I was freaking out. We went to bed, neither of us daring to go back into the game room. The next day, after daylight broke, we were brave enough to venture in since it was less creepy with the sun out. The picture was upside down again. We broke we both broke out into a cold sweat and bolted out of that room. We didn't dare go back in again for about a year.
A year.
Mhm. That's
Oh,
crazy, right?
that is so insane. I don't like that. I
But
would
do we
just move the
think it was
photo.
like a demonic entity?
I think it's poltergeist just trying to be like, heh. I don't know
Hmm.
if it's demonic. I feel like it would have probably done a little bit more damage if it was demonic.
If it was demonic?
I always think demonic is always the worst, so I always think that they would do the most damage.
I think so too, and the fact that, like, they thought that probably their family member like, I remember when I was, reading it the first time, like, part of the story was that he felt that maybe, Kyle's family member was messing with him or something or messing with
Mhm.
them, and I was
Mhm.
like, if they're super religious, like, there's no way like,
No,
could you
no
imagine, like,
way.
being incredibly religious? Like, imagine just back on your childhood turning the
Yeah.
cross upside down as
No,
a
that you would
joke.
get in so much trouble.
Right,
That would be
like
like the most blasphemous thing you could do.
exactly, so it's
Yeah.
just like, "Ooh, okay," so I don't think it was, like, any of the family members. I do
I
definitely
don't think
think it
so
was
either.
something paranormal. I don't know why
Mhm.
you wouldn't be able to hear it happen or anything like that, so it's very interesting that that's, you know, what
Mhm.
happened with it, and it's so great to get these stories from people who just, like, send in these random ass things where you're like, "You what? I'm sorry?"
Yeah. What?
Like, "Go run that by me again?"
Uh-huh.
Um, the one things that or the type of stories that scare me the most are the ones that happen when people are out in, like, remote areas and stuff, because
Oh,
I am terrified of the country.
yeah.
Like, there's nothing more terrifying to me than being like, "I live in this big house in the country, and I can't see shit outside." Like, it's pitch black, and I was like, for me, like has anybody ever watched the movie The Strangers?
No, it's
Yes.
too scary
You
for me.
oh my god, Natalie, you gotta
It's
watch
too
it.
scary for me.
It's great.
I know, but it's great. Also based on a true story,
That's
so
what I don't like,
terrifying.
you know?
Worst.
Like,
Yeah,
I am
it's
such a helpful person that I would open the door, and then they would kill me, and then it's like, wow, like, I try to be
yeah.
nice and I die? Like, what kind of thanks is that?
That's exactly how it happens.
That's so unfair. That makes
That's
me
the
angry.
is that the one
"Excuse
that
me,
has
sir, I
that,
was
like,
nice."
iconic line where he's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Because you were here." Is it
Because
that
you
movie?
opened the
Is
Yeah,
that
door.
okay,
Yeah,
because you
you
yeah,
yeah,
because you
answered
whatever
the
opened the
the yeah.
door.
door.
Yeah.
That's the only
Ooh.
reason why, it's a real thing. So, like, that's why I'm terrified of the freaking country, like, everybody's like, "I'd love to live in the country." I'm like, "In the dark like that?" Like, when you're looking
No
out your
thanks.
windows, all you see is your own reflection, like, you literally can't see out,
Guess where my
um,
mother-in-law lives?
in the
Oh,
Guess
country,
where that
right?
house was?
Telling you.
She
oh,
only had 2
But that
neighbors,
makes sense
one on
why
each side.
a
why you
mile
have
away.
a, military entity in there,
Yes.
right?
I'm
Because it's a
surprised not a
field.
farmer, though.
Well, he probably killed the farmer and took over his house.
"It's my house now, I
Yeah.
came back from war."
Just go look and investigate it, we'll see. You should do an, EVP session in there.
I should. If
That would
I don't think
actually
I
be
would be
kinda
allowed
cool.
to, though.
She doesn't need to know, just put your memo on and just be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not asking you." Just
Don't
be
mind
like,
me.
"Is anybody here?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm here, Natalie, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Who's
and
here
all
with
it
us?
requires right, and she's like, "Me?
Me?
What are you doing?" Could you imagine doing a paranormal investigation around people who have no clue you're doing
What
it,
you're doing? Yeah.
Sounds like it would be a fun show.
right?
Mhm.
Ooh,
Oh, good idea, trademark
okay,
that.
wait, copyright that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nobody take this, okay? Don't you dare.
I have a sleep
Copyrighted.
paralysis story whenever you're
Ooh, a sleep paralysis?
yeah, it was
Ooh.
not from me. It's
Oh, I was like,
so
"That's
it
scary."
was on it's featured on my scary paranormal
Part?
episode of Deep Dive Conversations.
Okay, do it.
And it was a family friend of are you guys ready? Yeah, okay. Sorry. I'm gonna start now because it's like it was written to me. And so it was a family friend. So he is actually Hispanic himself. He's from El
Shout out.
Salvador.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
And
shout out.
yes, so his name is Fernando, and he has been always like a older brother to me. All my older brothers had their friends, and their friends became my brothers. And so he sent me this story about when he was going through like I said, we grew up in a religious household, so all of them went to the same church, and they went to Bible college to become like I don't know, it was some brainwash academy to try to
To get brainwashed
try to
before
get
they went to
try to
Bible
get,
school.
Okay, yeah,
yeah, all their
That
money
tracks.
and, take advantage of young adults. But anyways, so he was studying demonology, and he was really into, like, all the
At
bugs.
Bible college?
Yeah, they were studying demonology to, you need to understand them so that you know how to cast them out, or you know how to, like,
Wow.
fight them or whatever. But he was very spiritual, so he's
okay.
very into spirituality, and so he would study all this stuff. Um, and I think that he at during this time, I'm not really sure if he was into it yet, but we always grew up in church, so he's always had the spiritual realm kind of like open to him, and
Mhm.
like he's been really aware of it. So the title of this is How I Found Out Jesus is Real and So Are Demons.
Yikes.
Okay, so it
Okay.
starts when I was 16. I had my first real girlfriend. She was my first love. We will call her Jane. We dated for a year and everything was great until I wanted to go to church with her. She believed in God but didn't want to go to church, especially if that meant that we couldn't be intimate anymore. Jane eventually broke up with me because I started going to church and didn't want to fool around anymore. Oh, I'm just kidding.
I
We
just
know about hoes
Yeah.
if you listen to the, previous
Why
episode
was
of
I
this
just thinking
show.
about that episode? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yes, she didn't want to fool anymore around anymore. I was devastated. My heart was broken. My sadness turned to regret and then to anger. I became angry at God and declared openly that I chose to no longer believe in him, and I blamed him for me losing my first love.
Hmm.
I told my mom that I refused to go to church and that I was done with God. My mom looked at me in the eye and said, I hope you have a real experience with the spiritual world and realize that God is real and that this is not a game.
Why is
Okay.
your mother cursing you?
Bam.
She was like, "You know
Wow.
what? I hope you have." That's
I
what she
know,
would
you know
say.
what? I hope you see a demon.
Jesus.
So he goes,
Damn.
I laughed and I mocked what she said. That night, I had a dream, and in my dream, the point of view was of someone walking to my backyard door. I looked I thought it was me walking to my back door, but then I realized it wasn't because whoever it was asked me a question. It said, "Can you let me inside your house?" And
Mm.
I knew it was something weird at this point, so I said, "Hell no." Then then it said, "But what if I look like Jane?" I
Ew.
responded with a hopeful, "Yes, come in."
No.
Then it
That's
came
how you know
in.
that's a dude. That's how you know that's a
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. Now, in my dream, I was lying on my right side on my couch. I looked toward the kitchen where I thought Jane had just come in. There, in the doorway of the kitchen and the living room, kind of was like conjoined, stood
Mhm.
a figure. This thing was tall, probably 7 feet, and it was skinny with long hair all over its body and face, and it had red eyes that were set deep inside its sockets.
Ew, wait, where was this person living?
It just like so this was he in his dream that he was having, he was
Yeah.
laying on the
Oh, where
couch.
does he live?
Oh, and like he lives near me,
In
like in
Canada?
Hamilton. Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
Sounds like
Canada.
the Jersey Devil.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
Well,
like
he
Is the
probably
the
did look
red
Jersey
like
eyes
Devil
and stuff.
hairy?
it sounds really familiar, right? Like it had
Yeah.
red eyes that were deep in its sockets. Um, had thin hair all over. Yeah, maybe he just was like, "Yo, what's up, Canada? I'm coming to you."
He's
Let
in
me
New
fly over
Jersey,
there real
so
quick.
Yeah, I'm a pop in quick.
oh
I
my
realized
god.
that this was not Jane and that it was a demon. I instantly felt fear in my heart. What the hell did I let into my house? The demon then darted to the kitchen and grabbed a long pronged fork. You know, one of those like pork, those
Oh,
like,
yeah, like barbecue forks.
yeah, yeah.
No, wait,
So,
I got it confused. I meant Mothman.
oh yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense
but
than
he
me.
didn't have wings. Doesn't Mothman have wings? I don't
Okay,
know. They're all the
Natalie,
same.
it's not an exact science.
I'm sorry. Not all demons
Okay.
look the same, okay?
Yeah, gosh. Every one of them is unique and different in
The
their
different
own
ways.
way.
All right.
Damn.
So he goes, I'm frozen. I can't move, and I'm on my right side on my bed. I hear scratching near where my face and my neck are. I slightly open my right eye just enough to see. My window has my window was open and the moonlight had lit up my room so I could see it clearly. To my shock, I saw the face of a demon. It had two large eyes that were completely black. It had a small mouth and two small holes where the nose is supposed to be. And it had blonde hair that
Oh,
reminded me of
okay.
Johnny Bravo's hair.
What?
So this one is
Perfect.
really on his own. He's really different.
Yeah,
He was real
wow.
scary until we got to Johnny
I was
Bravo.
gonna say I was pretty scared
I
until
know,
the
I was like,
hair.
"Oh, shit."
I know.
And
Wait,
then you're
never
like,
mind.
"Bro, you watch Cartoon Network?"
Yeah, you're like,
That's so funny. Wow.
Dang. Oh my gosh,
everything
okay.
was like, oh, until the blonde hair. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's not
Yeah.
bad. So it seemed like this demon was trying to claw at my face and neck. He got the blonde hair, but he ain't cool. Something was protecting me. Now I believe that pulsating humming sound. Oh yeah, sorry. I believe that there was a humming and pulsating sound, and he believes that that was some. I believe that was some sort of protective barrier. Sorry, I keep jumping in between first and third person. I firmly believe it was God's protection. I say this because it was trying to rip my face apart, but it could not access me. I closed my eyes again and I tried to reassure myself that this is a dream, it's not real. So I opened my right eye again, hoping it was gone. But this time, the demon realized that I saw it and that I recognized it. It
Ew.
paused for a moment and it got closer to my face. We looked at each other eye to eye. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, when I looked into this thing's eyes, there was nothing. It was black, dark, hollow, and filled with violent anger and malice. The demon's face then contorted in anger as if it was mustering all of its force to get to me, and it just couldn't. I was filled with terror and I thought I was going to die.
Oh, no.
Instantly started saying the name Jesus in my mind repeatedly. I then started saying, I'm covered by the blood of Jesus in my mind repeatedly. And then the screeching and pulsating sound started to dissipate. I sat up in my bed and I was drenched in sweat. I started saying, There's power in the name of Jesus over and over again. I then felt this anger and rage rise up inside of me, and the fear left me. I got up and I started walking to my door, and I could hear the demon outside of my door now in the hallway. And I was walking towards it with a determination for it to get out of my house. I
Mm-mm.
started I started repeating in the name of Jesus, I command you to leave my house. I then heard quick shuffling of feet, and then it ran to the washroom, and I saw a figure jump through the washroom window. That experience
Ew.
that experience solidified my faith in Jesus Christ and that he is God and that there is a spirit realm where there are malignant beings that hate mankind.
Shout out. I mean, same.
That uh, that story, I
That's
when I
freaky.
recorded that for my podcast, I recorded that at least like 10 times because like something was wrong with the audio every time.
Oh,
Oh.
dang.
Oh
Girl,
no.
you were
Girl,
Oh.
haunted?
yes.
Tell me
Ew.
you
So
were haunted. That's
um
never happened to me. I'm never
Wow.
haunted on my podcast. It makes me very
yeah,
upset.
it was just like the audio
MJ
was
is, but
bad.
not me.
Oh, she is?
Really?
Yeah. But the episode where we talked about El Caso de Josue, this like paranormal show in Mexico where people
Mhm.
call in, one of the most famous cases we covered it. It's this guy that made like a pact with
The
a
Oh, was
demon.
that the one where he was like the priest was, like, trying on the phone to, like, rid him of it,
No,
but he gave a
that's
fake name?
yeah, that's Nash. That's El
Oh,
Caso
yeah.
Nash. This is an older one. We didn't I don't think we had put audio from maybe I
That
did. I
one
don't
in there?
remember. But this is an older one. This is El Caso de Josue. And when we recorded that, I think someone sent us like a clip where you can hear something where MJ's talking, but like nobody was in the room with her. And just sounds like you can't make out what the voice is. But
Shut
then
up.
Oh my
later when she was talking about the episode with a friend, her kids were at school already. Nobody was in the house with her. She was recording something and then she like sent a voice note to her friend and then her friend was like, "Is there someone there with you?" Because you could hear a voice in her voice note,
no,
but nobody was with
no.
her.
Wait, is it still on the podcast?
I don't think we put that clip in there. I think I made like a reel or TikTok about it.
Oh, I gotta
Uh
find it.
yeah, but that was creepy.
Ooh, I
But yeah, I
love that.
Is
never
your
see or hear
podcast called
anything.
Spooky Tales? It's
Yes.
spooky? Okay, I'm gonna follow you
Mhm,
right
mhm.
now so I
Oh,
don't
thank you,
forget.
thank you. Yeah. Oh, Sammy, you can get down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's ugh, I don't like it. Oh, let me go
So
help
I
my
know
2-year-old.
yes, I know that the girls with, at Two Girls, One Ghost, like, are always haunted. They always have,
Oh,
like, the
yeah.
most stuff happen to their
Oh, yes.
listeners and to themselves. Like, I've heard stuff, um, on the podcast, like, whenever I forgot what happened, but it was like you heard like a cat or something, and Sabrina has a cat, right, Leia,
Mhm.
and stuff, and so you thought it was Leia, but it was like not her. She was like, oh, she's not even here or something like that, and I was like, ew. And I remember hearing it in the episode going like, oh, Leia, or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they were like,
I wonder
wait,
I
did you hear
definitely heard
that?
it. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a
They've
lot.
also played back, like, EVPs that they've heard or, like, just
Yes.
voices. They have, like, they call their ghost Sven, right? So,
Yeah.
like, they have, like, someone that says, "Hello?"
Mm-hmm.
And, like, in between of
Creepy.
recordings, oh my god,
Yes.
they're so haunted.
See, they're insanely open, not me. Like,
Not
I'm
me either.
so
Me
closed off
neither.
when I'm, like, doing stuff because I, like, make sure I just am like, "No." So, like, I intentionally like, I try to make the podcast, like, palpable in terms of fear. Like, I want you to be engaged while you're listening, but terrified and be like,
Yeah,
"Ugh,"
you got that down 'cause
you
I
know?
get pretty scared.
I try because I'm like, I record in the dark. Like, I try to get myself scared so that I can, like, be engaged in the storytelling because I
Yeah.
do like I want to make sure like when the person the reader or the listener is sending in a story and they're telling me like how scared they are, they're being like I was so nervous and scared. I'm like I want to I want to mimic them in some way.
Mhm.
And so like I have to amp myself up in a fear mode to get there.
I
And
love that.
I
That's
get
that's
scared.
true
I'm dying when you were
podcasting.
on and you were scared yourself when she was
My
on an
freaking
They did
episode.
that
husband.
to me too!
You just had the same thing,
Are you
right? Oh,
serious?
yeah. I
Why does
did,
your
yes.
husband keep
Wow.
scaring you?
He hates me. I was like I did it
Hilarious.
happened with Natalie too. So,
Yes.
like, my booth, as you guys know now, but, like, general population and public don't, but, like, this is my booth door. You can't see it now because of the spectacular. See? That's me. Hi. Hi, it's
Hi.
me. It's just a glass door. So,
Yep.
like, I record and I turn off all the lights. The only like, light that I have is my computer screen and stuff. So I'm like so
Mhm.
focused, but then also in the back of my mind while I'm reading these stories, I'm like, don't let anything happen. Like, don't do it. So like
Yep.
psychologically I'm amping myself up while also being like, girl, something's gonna happen to you. And it's like my husband hears the call and he's
And
like,
he
I
yeah,
will fear her.
I
Like
Yes.
feel
I will scare her. And so he was, like, typing a message onto me like, to me on his phone so he didn't scare me and was, like, holding it up to the window, and I was like when I was talking to Christina and MJ on the podcast, I kept, like, in the periphery, like, seeing something, like, floating there, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, this is happening right now, and I'm terrified." And I was like, "Don't look, don't look, don't look." And then I look and I see him, and then I was like, "Oh my god."
we're like, "What happened?
I know, and I was like,
Are you
"Why do
okay?"
you hate me? Like, why are you doing this?" And
Man.
he did it to same thing with Natalie.
I
We
Yeah.
were
yeah,
talking
no.
about ghost stories again, so I just, like, try and amp myself up.
Yeah, you definitely get into it. And then
So
your husband likes
scary.
to test you.
It's so
How
scary.
scared are you?
Very. Not anymore because all the lights are on, thank god, so I can actually, like, see, and it's only 7 o'clock my time, so I'm not too scared.
That's good.
Um, but,
Good
okay,
we
let me
started early.
I know, right? I know, I was like, "I have to put a baby to bed, so I ain't staying up till midnight with you guys, okay?"
Yeah.
But okay, so I have another paranormal story. This one's really short,
Okay.
but I started this thing when I was like 6 years old because from the ages of like 6 to 12 or 13,
Mhm.
almost every year I was attending a funeral of a family member
Oh.
or
Oh
like
my
a friend.
god.
And so I became very like I'm glad kind of for not glad they died, but, like, um, glad that I was exposed so early and it was just, like, a natural thing and
Mm,
that it didn't have to be explained to me really. It was just kind of
Mhm.
like I was old enough to understand that, like, people died, and either it was of old age or just, like, being sick, or something like that. And so I didn't need it explained to me in the way that you may struggle to explain it to a kid who's, like, younger than 6 to help them
Mhm.
understand death and all that stuff.
mhm.
So it started with my best friend's stepdad dying of cancer, who I loved. He was just
Oh.
such a great and nice guy. and I remember, like, seeing him ill and going through all this stuff. I still have pictures of him and everything, and I remember when he
Oh.
died, something in me was just like, when you go into the apartment the next day, like, you need to make sure you say you don't wanna see him because he'll definitely like, something in me was just like, "You need to say this out loud." Like, just knew it. And I'm like, I'm 6 or 7 years old saying this, like, it was weird to myself. So,
Mhm.
like, I walk in and I said, "Jim, if you're here, I don't wanna see you. I love you, but I don't wanna see you because I'll be so scared if I see you." And I was also exposed to the paranormal in that apartment, like, my best friend's apartment, because there was a woman who
I hate apartments.
yeah, it was so weird. So, like, when you walked in, it was the obviously, like, the living room, like most apartments are set up, like, you walk into the living room and then the kitchen's off into some corner.
Mhm.
But the couch was set up to where you could if you sat on the end of the couch, you were looking straight down into the hallway where the bedrooms were. So you go down the hallway, bedroom on the left, bathroom on the right, main bedroom at the very back of the apartment.
Mhm.
And we would always joke. So, like, when Jim was alive before he got cancer,
Mhm.
him and the mom and my best friend and me, we'd be watching, like, Home Improvement and all that stuff. Like, we were just watching those shows.
Mhm.
And all of us, like, because of how we were situated on the like, we literally Simpson styled the couch, right? Like, all of us sat on the couch together. So it was like
Yeah.
Pat, Jim, Sandra, me, and stuff. And I was always on the end. And I would always just, like, kind of see something, like, shoo in the back room, just like, "Bye-bye."
Mm.
And I was like, "That's weird." And Sandra, because she was older than me, but also, like, my best friend, would like to tease me and be like, "Oh, it's a ghost. Her name's Emily, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Whatever." Trying to be all cool, but, like, inside I was like, "Oh my god." And that's why I, like, would not stay at her house because, like, I would always call my mom. My mom we lived in the same apartment complex, so it was easy for my mom to come and get me. But, like, the majority of the time of why I didn't wanna stay there was because of that, like, being so scared.
Well, yeah. Oh my god. You literally
So
saw something.
yeah, like, I always saw it on the periphery, like, I never got a full-fledged eye, like, I've never seen a full body apparition, I've
Apparition,
never
yeah.
seen any of that, I've always just seen, like and I still do to this day, like, still get little, like, wisps of things, not even, like, full anything, it's just, like,
Mm.
a wisp of something that you're like,
Mhm.
"Do I have glaucoma?" Because
Did I see that?
right?
Is there something in my eye?
Is my retina is, like, my retina detached?
Oh my
That's just what I think.
god.
Glaucoma does run in
It
your
was
my family, so make sure
it
you
was
guys
just
get
the way that
tested.
the light hit the
So she would, like, tease me and stuff like that, but it was, like, actually haunted. She had a witch board, like, her mom had a witch board, so it wasn't even a Ouija board, it was, like, an elevated level of a Ouija board
It's like
and
one
stuff.
step better.
Next
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was things that, like, you literally should not mess with unless you're actually, like, you know how to close things down and you know how to say goodbye and you, like, trust yourself with the power that that brings or whatever. Yeah, it was a whole thing. I was like, "Oh my god, no."
Oh my
So, I
gosh.
remember seeing that and, like, it was pretty frequent, like, you would see it all the time, like, there was nothing that would preclude it from not being there. Like, it could have 50 people in the apartment, and you would still see this ghost. Like, it was just like, "Ba-ba,
Wow.
ba-ba, ba-ba," back and forth from in the main bedroom. Like, she was just walking back and forth in the bedroom and stuff.
Wow.
And I was like,
Residual
"Cool."
energy, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't think it was, like, a real entity
Yeah,
because it was just doing the same thing.
the same thing.
Um,
Mm.
so, like, I walked in, I said that, and I could just feel this, like, energy shift of things, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna get a drink real quick and then run back outside because 'cause I'm terrified."
Oh my
So I
gosh.
started doing that after everybody died. Like, I would be like we would go to the gravesite, we'd do the funeral, and I'd be, like, in my head saying, like, "I don't wanna see you. I don't wanna see you. I love you, but I don't wanna see you because 'cause I'll be too scared."
Yeah,
And
that's so smart.
yeah, when I lost my grandpa, he was my great-grandfather, my grandma's, father, it was the most devastating loss that I had experienced because he was my best friend, like, I
Oh, I'm
loved
sorry
him
to hear
so
that.
much, and I grew up with him, and I just adored him like nobody's business, we were best friends,
Mhm.
and he was, like, wheelchair-ridden, so, like, it's not like he was outside playing catch with me, he was just, like, you know, he was just there and stuff like that, and he loved me and he adored me, and so it was, like, great to be
Yeah, he's
loved by him and stuff,
aw.
and I remember when he died, I was, like, devastated, like, depressed for a kid who was that age, like 10 or 11 years old, I can't even remember. And I was in bed one day, and I had been crying, like, the week before, like, I was just
Yeah,
devastated
just,
by
like,
the loss.
heartbroken.
And so, when I fell asleep in the room, he since he was, um bedridden for the most part. He could get into a wheelchair, but he had, like, severe arthritis, so he had to use,
Oh.
a walker to, like, get around and stuff, and so, if you ever been around somebody who has to use a walker, it has, like, a very distinct kind of
Mhm,
clicking sound when it
mhm.
moves,
Yep.
and so you would just, like, know, right? Like, he got up and he was moving around, so you're just kind of, like, expecting him and whatever. So I was asleep one day in the morning, my grandma was trying to get me up for school. I was completely awake, but I was still, like, fake sleeping. I can fake sleep like a boss, right? Like, you'll
Oh,
never
yes,
know. So
yes.
I'm just like, you could do so many things, and I'd just be like and I won't make a face, won't do anything,
Yeah,
and I'm like natural. I don't know why I do that.
hold your
But
breath.
yeah, I'm like, like, turn and, she was trying to get
Excuse
me
me.
up to go to school, and I was like, "I'm so sad. I don't wanna go to school. Like, I just wanna stay home. I'm not feeling good. I'm really, like, upset about this whole thing and everything." And I heard his walker come out of his room, like, click, click,
Oh
click, and he called
god.
my name, which is a nickname he used me because he couldn't say my real name, which I will not repeat. Um, but he couldn't say my, like, real name. It's not Lainey, surprise, surprise. Um, a Mexican girl named Lainey? My mom did not choose that. I did. So I remember hearing it and I was like, "Oh, thank God it was, like, all just, like, a terrible nightmare kinda thing." Like, I had this, like, sense of relief wash over me, like, "Oh my gosh, like, he's here, like, never mind, like, what am I
Yeah,
crying for? Why
why
am I
am I so
sad?"
upset?
And then I was like I woke up and I looked around and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's here." And he wasn't there. And so I was like it was really sad, but then also just kind of, like, good to know that he heard me. And knew
Yeah.
that I needed him and stuff still, so I was like, "Oh, man, that's, like, so great and awesome that he showed up." So that's one of, like, my happier spooky tales that he,
Oh,
like, came up, but I thought that was, like I was like, "Wow, what a genius!" Because I didn't wanna see you,
That's
but, like, I
yeah.
could hear
adorable.
you, right? Like, I
Yeah.
could hear you and know and I heard you say my name, so, like, I had the auditory experience that wasn't scary, and I was also, like, not asleep.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was, like, really nice. But have you guys had any dreams that, like, felt real in terms of, like, spookiness?
Yes. Oh
Give
my
us the
god.
baby, Christina. Oh my god.
Hold on, my child. There we go. I had to turn my mouse off because he was cooking. Yes, I will share this one, and then I gotta go because I gotta record myself.
Yes.
But MJ and I were researching the white chivo. It's like this half man, half goat
Ooh,
Oh.
witch, not witch, but like sorcerer. He like the legend is that it made a deal with like the devil, and that way you can this thing sorcerer can shapeshift into an animal, and it's usually half goat,
Mm.
half man, but there's like half dog, half cat ones too.
Yeah.
Um, and what is he doing?
He's saying
Hold
he
on.
wants my face.
Yes, go that way. And so we were researching this, and we both kept having like weird things happening during that time. Like a bunch of things were like moving around MJ's house. There was like knocking on her window, and she lives on the second floor of an apartment.
Oh,
Um,
hell
no,
no.
none of that for
no.
me,
You're like,
but
"Can't relate."
yeah, but this dream, and it was so weird because in my dream, it was like we were all asleep, so it already felt like I was sleeping. Like it didn't even like it took me a while to like wake up and realize, oh wait, that was a dream. Like because it just felt that
That's so
real.
real, yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, no. Oh my god. Then you had a weird dream too. My
He's like, "Oh
no,
my
my
god,
child's
mom, me too."
Oh my god, I
yeah,
thought I was gonna tell you about that man that I
but
saw.
Matt, don't go that way. But in that dream, we were all asleep, and then suddenly, like the front door, like breaks open and somebody walks in like with a gun, and then I was trying to wake my husband up like, where's our gun? Like, wake up, what are you doing? We're being attacked. And then he like took so long to wake up,
Oh
which
my
is
god.
very real because his ass will not wake up. It's the worst thing ever. I hate it.
Oh
Oh
my god.
And so
no.
he took forever to like realize what was happening. No, they didn't kill me. They my child. He's like, did that person kill you? Like,
We'll
no,
we'll
go
we'll
that
talk
way.
later, son.
Yeah.
It was just
He's
a
just
dream.
staring at me. Yes, it was just a dream, Mateo. It's okay. But and then that person then shot my husband, and before he could grab our gun, and
Oh no.
and then I heard like a voice say like, God, what did it was like, oh, you wanted to see us, now we're here, like
Ew.
you did this basically. And then it was like such a raspy, no, not you, it was such a raspy voice.
He was like, "It
And
was me."
I
Wait, can I do
felt,
a creepy
yeah,
voice because I love doing it? Was it
yeah,
like
Okay. You asked for this.
basically, yes,
Ew.
oh my
oh my
God, spot
god.
on. And I heard it by my ear basically. I woke up sweating,
No.
like literally
No.
cold sweats. My heart was racing. I checked and I was like, no, the door's not open. He's still alive next to me.
Yeah,
Everything's
thank
normal.
God.
But
Oh my
when I woke
god.
up, it was 3 a.m.,
No.
which
Ooh,
Of
just
course.
not
made, yeah,
great.
of course. What other
Great.
time would it be?
So like Lainey told
Um,
me, they manipulated that, right?
Yeah. Like
Like they
they manipulate your reality to like
yeah,
get you to do like wake up at 3 o'clock, right? Because they're like,
mm.
oh, high time to like fuck around and find out.
yeah.
Like,
So
yeah,
I got under
literally.
my cover,
Literally.
put on The Office, and was just like,
Yes, The Office.
Oh my
Din,
god.
din, din, din,
That's
din.
like the
Din,
Disney
din,
Channel is like,
din,
that's
din,
the
din.
happiest thing I can think of right now.
Yeah,
yeah,
literally. That's The
Oh my
Office for
god.
me. It's like I need some fucking sorry, excuse my language. I need some like dry humor to just try to get me out of this mindset.
Yes, it's oh man. All right. Well, Christina, thank you for joining us. Listen to
Yeah.
the
yes.
Spooky Tales wherever you get your podcast. It is a great and fantastic podcast. I'm going
Start
to
with the
highlight the
episode you
episode.
on. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, I would recommend listening to the Lechusa episode, not the first one, but the one that features me.
We
I
legit
do
got
Um,
love
so
that
many
one.
compliments on how awesome you were, Lainey. They were like, "Oh my god, I love
Carmen.
her." Then they were like,
Aw.
"Maybe she should replace Carmen." No, no, no.
I was like,
Nobody
don't
said
be mean
that.
to Carmen. Do not come for Carmen. I'm all like, only
Oh
I will come
man.
for Carmen.
Yeah. No, but everyone was like, "She's so fun," and
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So
Have me on whenever you need.
I will. I
That
will.
Because
is so
I'm
MJ's sick all
lovely.
the time, so I do always need guest co-hosts. As you
call me
heard,
girl.
Carmen was in the latest episode.
Yes, I know. I was like,
I'll come on
MJ,
too if you ever need.
Yeah, let's do
do
it. Let's
it.
do
Yeah. Can I
it.
take a
Well,
picture before you go?
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. My
Yay.
camera's all weird now. I feel like it's
It's
go.
haunted.
Whoops.
What
Whoops.
now?
There we go.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Oh, should we do our thumbnail version? Like, or what we do for a
Oh yeah,
thumbnail? We look so
Oh
dumb.
my god.
People who just joined in are like, what the?
What is
Click off.
happening right now? Yeah.
They're
Actually,
like,
let me log
bye.
out.
Right?
Actually,
Close
this is
that.
the wrong stream, sorry.
Right. Yeah, we're doing Call of Duty next if you guys want to hang on.
Perfect.
All right, well, have fun. Tell
Oh,
whoever's
Bye,
thanks.
co-hosting with
Christina.
you if it's not MJ, I said hello. And if
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Carmen,
this is for Historias Unknown, so it's
oh,
Carmen. Yeah.
tell her I said what's up.
Will do,
I
will
see
do.
you. Okay, bye.
All
Thanks
right,
for coming.
Bye,
bye.
it was
Thank
nice
you.
meeting you.
Yes, it was nice meeting you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay,
That was
awesome. That was so much
spooky.
fun. I
That was
love
so much fun.
Christina. I love them
Mhm.
both. If you don't listen to a Spooky Tales, truly, you have to listen to it.
Yeah, I followed them. I want to. I'm like, I
They're
need
so
more
funny.
content.
So they're different vibe, right? Like, so mine is a storytelling, like narrative podcast. They do such a great, and also Susto. If you don't listen to Susto, the podcast, also
Who's that,
Aiden's fantastic.
who's that by?
It's by Aiden Castanelos.
How do you
But
spell
type it
it?
in the chat so everybody can see.
Okay.
And it's Spooky Tales. They're both very different. So a Susto is a podcast that focuses on like Latinx stories and things like that.
Mhm.
And Aiden does a really great job of like giving you the historical background of one, being really responsible with his storytelling, and then sharing kind of his analysis of them. And Spooky
Ooh.
Tales does the same thing. Christina and MJ have a really cool vibe with each other, and
Mhm.
it's a very fun show. So I would say like Susto is a little bit more serious. They have fun. Spooky Tales is a more fun show, but they do give you a great history and background on certain things, and they discuss
Mhm.
it. So don't go into it thinking it's like a like in my show where it's like only narrative and that's all you hear. Like I don't really engage on any of my podcasts. Um,
You
on a
do a little
convers
bit,
like, not
like,
on a
after the story.
conversation yeah, after the
Yeah.
story, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't talk about the story, I'm all like, "Oh, that's crazy," and I offer, like, insights into it, but I
Yeah.
don't spend a lot of time on it,
Okay.
um, and stuff, and so they do a really great job of, like, kind of drilling down into the background of the stories and the folklore and stuff, because a lot of them have to do with, like, folklore and kind of things within Latin American history and things like that. Like, they're super knowledgeable, and it's
Mhm.
even, like, educated me on certain things, like what not to say, what to do, and how to, like, approach those, types of stories, especially when they're from a different culture. Because
Yeah.
even though, like, it's grounded in Latin America, we don't all share the same culture, right? Like, so if
Oh,
you're
okay.
Ecuadorian, you don't have the same belief system, from a, like, indigenous point of view that, like, say, somebody from Mexico would.
Oh, I didn't know it was that
Mm.
different.
Yeah, so it's all just very, like it's intertwined in a way, but also very different. So
Mm,
it's think about, like, the First Nations people, right? Like,
right.
they're not all, you know, one broad brush of, like, "Oh, you if you're First Nations here or whatever," or, like, whatever.
Mhm.
They all have different,
Traditions and
yeah.
okay, yeah, that's true, that makes
So it's
sense.
just the same thing
Mhm.
like that. So, do you have any other spooky tales you wanna share with us?
I think I told you all of them,
Okay.
basically,
So I'll
yeah.
share another one from the show that was also a little bit creepy to me when I first saw it because I was like,
Oh,
"How how did this happen?"
okay, let's go.
So this one is from the they always pick these funny names when they send them in, so it's hilarious.
Mm.
This one comes from Unique Pickle 3951, who says they stepped off a literal elevator into the twilight zone.
Oh,
And this one was
no.
like, okay, because it's
This is why elevators
extremely
scare
freaky.
me.
It's so weird.
Oh god.
So I don't know if this really qualifies as paranormal or not, but it seems like an experience this community might be able to provide answers to. A few years ago, as a college senior, one of the classes I needed was no longer offered at the main campus. So for one semester, I had to drive around 45 minutes to one of the campus branches to take the class. I had never been to the branch before, and when I entered the building that my class was in, I could not find my classroom for the life of me. It was supposed to be on the second floor, but I was walking around everywhere looking for stairs or an elevator, and I couldn't find one. After an embarrassing long time, I found an elevator in a place where I was sure I had just walked and there hadn't been one before. And I got on and pressed floor 2. Now, I should say that overall the building was not that big, and there weren't many elevators or places to get lost in. So, as I said, I pressed floor 2 and rode up. When the doors opened, there was nothing but a huge storage room. And yes, I am sure I pressed 2 and I felt it go up. Confused, I got out and walked around looking for a hallway or something, but it was nothing but a big storage room. So I got back on the elevator and went down to floor 1, got back in, and pressed 2 again. This time, the doors opened to a normal looking hallway, and I found my classroom. There are only 2 floors to the building. When one of my classmates asked why I was so late to class, I explained what happened, and my professor, who had worked there for years, told me that a room like that doesn't exist in the building.
No.
I was really confused and said, "Well, I was just there. I walked around the room and everything." And he just said he had no idea what I could have possibly seen, and it never happened again. The end.
Oh my
Weird.
god, she definitely opened, like, a different dimension or something. She was
But do you see what I mean? Like, that's those are I'm like, okay, so if you're a skeptic in the
Yeah.
paranormal,
Mhm.
I get why you would be like, "Why? Why?" And my thing is like, why would I make it up?
Yeah, that's what
Like,
I'm
I'm such
saying.
a
These stories
I'm
that are sent in, like, why would someone
yeah.
just, like, go out of their way to, like, lie about everything?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
like,
you'd
I
hope
wanna
they
be known
wouldn't.
as a liar. Yeah, right, like, I
Yeah,
guess maybe, like, best intentions, you wanna think, like, they wouldn't lie, but
yeah.
I'm just like, also, why w maybe I'm just too pragmatic in that sense to where I couldn't understand why you would wanna waste your time lying
Mhm,
about an experience, but it's
mhm.
happened before, like, we see paranormal shows doing that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and, it's all the whole thing, it's just like, "What the heck is all this about?" So, it's a very interesting, thing to experience,
Yeah,
um,
there's no
and
answers
there's
as
also,
much.
like, no rational explanation for that.
Yeah.
If
No,
you believe it
especially
to
not
be
that.
true, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you believe it to be true that like, if my friend was telling me this and I was like, "Okay, like, yeah, I can't explain what that was. I can't explain how this happened, to
Mm-mm.
you or anything like that." So, I don't know, it's very, very interesting, and I find it, um difficult to understand for myself, like, why anybody would make it up. So,
Yeah, I
I
get
think what
that.
I told the person was that it sounded like the Tower of Terror in Disney World, but, like, in real life.
Yeah.
Um, and it does sound like again, I don't create the show to invalidate anybody's experiences, right? I
Mhm,
always go in believing, like, you genuinely believe this happened to you, you
mhm.
genuinely believe you experienced this, and so therefore I genuinely believe it. And so I'm just like, the maybe you walked into, like, something again residual, that it was
Oh, what it was
what
before.
was yeah, like what it was
Okay.
before. So maybe it was
Yeah.
the 2nd floor was a storage room at the time, and so you kind of just walked into, like, a glitch in the matrix or
Yes, yes,
something like
like
that.
jumping dimensions, or
Yes,
timelines. I'm like, that's new too to me, like,
yes.
timelines and
Oh my
blurriness,
god, don't
the
even
the Mandela effect, oh my god.
yes, I know. Okay, Berenstain Bears, I will die on that hill because 'cause I'm
Yes,
like,
me
"For
too.
real, this happened." I
It
know
was.
it didn't, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
What are
"Okay,
they trying to say now? It's Bearstain or
Berenstain
Stein?
Bears," or something like that.
Berenstain Bears.
Berenstain Bears or something, it's just really, really weird.
Yeah, 'cause the
Um
song was The Bearstein Bears.
Yeah, and I was like, I feel like that's not
That's
true, but,
yeah, I don't know, it's and then there was another thing, oh, there's so many things, like, things
like,
that used to be
Mandela
sung.
effect-wise,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Let
there's
me
so
cough.
many. That was the
Okay,
quietest cough ever.
thank you. Oh my god, I have perfected the podcast cough, which is muting your mic. I told you about Dan Zupansky, right, who's your Canadian brethren, one
Mm-mm.
of the OGs, probably the first guy to have a true crime podcast, and
What? No?
yeah,
I did not know this.
Dan Zupansky from Canada. He's a Canadian
Dan,
podcast,
where are you?
throwing up in a bucket somewhere.
Why?
So Dan was notorious. So there was this thing before Spreaker bought it, and before like iHeart bought Spreaker, like there was this podcasting platform
Mhm.
called Blog Talk Radio.
Oh.
And Dan Zupansky hosted his show,
Mhm.
True Murder, on there. And I think True Murder's still around. Like, Dan, what's up? I don't allow, Dan Zupansky on my friends list anymore because whoever if it's not the real Dan Zupansky, it's somebody who,
It's pretending to be him.
yeah. Oh my god,
Mhm.
okay, so Dan Zupansky's still around, love that for him. Shout
That's
out
good.
to Dan. He and he's like I said, OG, so people, like, love him because he interviews authors of true crime books and other people in particular, and he does a great job, like, narrating it and stuff. I
Mhm.
need to listen to it to see if it's gotten edited. So, he would get on, and there's this famous episode where he's interviewing an author, but Dan is, like, incredibly ill, like, he has
Oh, no.
a foodborne illness,
Oh,
and he's
no.
just, like, tossing chunks. So this author is like, "Imagine you're talking to me, you're telling
Yeah.
me about the story of, like, whatever crime has happened, like, whatever true crime has happened," and you're just like, and then he gets back on and he's like, "So, yeah, tell me." And I mean, like, he did not edit his show at all. Like, he literally pressed publish after that and was like,
This is
It
good
fucking
enough for me.
happens. And that's his mentality, at least in the beginning. So, like, he would get on, and you would hear him dial the author's number to call them to get him on the show because he was doing it, like, on a phone call or something,
Okay.
and probably playing it over speaker, and you would hear him dial the number, call it would go to voicemail, and he would just, like, start talking shit about how this person didn't answer their phone. They knew, and he was like, "I don't know, you can't get a hold of them." I was like, "I don't understand, like, what it's about, why they're not answering their phone." And it was just like, you're listening going like, "Is this real life? Like, is this, like, a
Is this a
actual
joke?
thing?" Yeah, I was like, "Is this happening for real?" So it was so funny. Um, and that's just, like, one thing as a podcaster you think is just so hilarious, but, I was like, "Please, people, just, like, mute your mic." Like, just
Yeah, it's not hard.
Just step away, and he just would not and he also would say things like that. He'd be like, "I just don't wanna edit, like, I don't have the time for it. I don't wanna do it." And I was like, "God,
Honestly,
God love
so
him."
much respect for that.
Yeah, I was like, you just wanna be you, Dan, and I love that for you, and I love that for me, and I love that for
Yeah.
everybody else. Um,
Mhm.
so I have another podcast not podcast, another podcast recommendation. I could give you so many paranormal podcast recommendations. If you
I
guys
know,
don't
I already
listen.
have so many right now.
Yeah. Also paranormal putas, they're hilarious. They're definitely not a serious true crime show. I
Yeah.
mean, definitely not serious true crime because they don't do true crime. Paranormal show. They're 2
Mhm.
sisters, who recap Ghost Adventures episodes, which is
Oh,
if
that's
you
awesome.
it's so funny. They're fantastic, so highly recommend listening to them
Oh,
to
yeah,
you.
I
They're
can put
great.
that on my list.
They're so funny.
Paranormal putas.
We met them they were at the, True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival, so I literally asked Aiden, MJ, and Christina, and the Paranormal Putas to be there because I
Mhm.
was like, I wanna meet you." Like, I wanna meet you because 'cause I'm a fan."
That's sick.
That's partly how these things happen, like, why I'm able to get podcasters to come because 'cause I'm like, I think it would be so cool so I can meet you."
Mhm.
Did you see that?
No?
Like,
N
behind like, maybe it
no?
was just my green screen thing. That was weird.
Oh
Okay.
my god.
Ew! Okay.
Lady!
I don't believe anything. I swear on my life. I don't know if anybody else saw that behind me.
This is gonna be posted, right?
Yeah,
Afterwards? Okay, I
that's
gotta
weird. Okay, what's the timestamp on this?
1, 5, 6,
1:56.
43. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that was
going back to
weird.
that.
Maybe it was just my headphones and stuff, and maybe that was
Honestly, it
the
happened to me here, like,
yeah,
here. I thought because
a
it's
wisp,
blurry in the
right?
back, right? So, it's happened to me. It might have been to you,
It
I don't know,
scared you.
but
Sure. We'll debunk it. We'll just say it was a headphones thing.
it's because we talking shit
Um,
about Dan.
I know Dan's ghost, even
Sending
though
his
he's still
ghost.
alive, is like, "I'm coming for you." So okay, so the happy story I had, but then, I've had my grandma has told me so many scary stories. You don't know about my doll story because you haven't, like,
I
probably
haven't,
listened to his spooky tales or anything like that, but
not yet.
this is the pinnacle of my paranormal experience,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
think now this was real after I did my Spooky Tales guest host spot, um, because MJ pointed out something that I'll tell you at the end of it.
Okay,
So, when I was younger, and this happened prior to me being 6, so I was definitely under 6. I had a doll, my favorite. I hate dolls now because of this
I
experience.
wonder why.
I know, oh my god. And I was also, like I was obsessed with what I thought was proper. So, like, if I saw things in movies where, like, a little girl was
Hi,
praying on like
Dolly.
yeah, like, kneeling on the side of her bed and, like, put her hands together and was praying,
Oh,
I wanted to do that too.
oh,
Like,
yes, me
I
too.
wanted to be that, like, "Dear
That
God," and I
that's
would
the
say that
only
thing
way
because
to
I had no
pray.
idea. Yeah, I was like, You know, I knew the Lord's Prayer and then the end. Um, and so at the time, again, we were poor. So, like, I literally shared a queen size bed or a full size bed with my brothers, and I would sandwich in between them because it was, like, the safest space you could be, and my brothers were, like, just my protectors, like, always
Mhm,
and forever.
mhm.
So I always, like, just felt great, like, sandwiched in between them, and I was like, "Oh, great." They were both asleep when this happened. And I remember going like, "Oh my god, I forgot to say my prayers." So I get up out of bed, I take my doll with me, and I lean down at the side of the bed, like kneel down, and I have my doll and I lean her down beside me, and I start like praying and all this stuff. And I look down at her and I said, "Doll," or like whatever I called her. I was like, "Are you praying too?" And then I go back to praying and I look back down and she literally like looks up at me and stuff, like, she literally is just like, "Yeah, I'm praying, girl." And I
Or
was like,
hell
"Oh
no.
my god." I was so scared, I literally, like, scrambled back in bed,
Oh
and
my
I
god. Tell me you
go
left her
went
on the
like this to
floor.
my brother. Yeah, I, like,
Okay.
left I would, like, got into my brother's back like this, like, "Oh my god," and just fell asleep
Oh.
because I was so scared. And like, before I guessed it on the podcast, I was like, "I'm not sure if this was a dream that I had or if this was, like, a real experience." Like,
Mhm.
but every time I tell like, literally, every time I tell this story, I'm transported back to how I felt and how
You get,
scared
like,
I was in
a
that moment.
visceral reaction.
Yes, like, I get so scared and I'm like, "Ugh," but it could also just be, like, my brain being like, "Remember how scared you were? Let me reignite that for you." Also,
Yeah.
high trauma, high anxiety, that's how that happens, right? Like, your
Yeah.
brain protects you and it's like, "No, no, 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 you don't wanna feel that."
Yeah.
Um, so I wasn't sure. I was always like, "I don't know if it's real." Like, I try to discredit myself and being like, "I was a kid, like, who knew?" It was
Mhm.
just
We
probably
try to
just a dream. I
rationalize, right?
watched Chucky, when I was little,
Yeah.
like, by that age, I had watched Chucky and I had seen Puppet Master and stuff like that,
Mhm.
so I was like, I'm sure it was just, like, a infiltration of the scary movies I was watching, like, I should not have been able to watch, but I did.
Yeah.
Thanks, mom. Um, no, I'm glad she did because they were good movies.
Yeah,
Um,
they are.
and then MJ was like, "Well, it probably was real because the doll on the floor when you woke up in the morning?" And I was like, yeah, because I remember, like, getting the doll and taking it to my mom and asking her to, like, throw it away because I was like, "I don't want this doll anymore." Like, that was all a very real experience for me and stuff, so I was
Yeah.
like, I was grappling with that fact for a week after I was on the show, and I was like, "Oh my god, was it real? Like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I, like, threw it off in my dream or something and, like, yeeted it off the bed or something." Like, I still try to rationalize it because I think it's a little too nerve-wracking for me to believe
To
that, like,
accept, yeah.
that was a real, like, thing that happened to me and stuff, so, I
Oh
don't
my
know.
god, literally like, "Yeah, girl." Oh,
Yeah, she's
that's
like,
so
"Yeah, girl,
creepy.
I'm saying prayers with you, like, no big
For
deal."
sure.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I love to go on, paranormal haunts in my local towns.
Yeah.
In the downtown areas, they always do, like, paranormal hauntings or, like, investigations and stuff, or will take you
Mhm.
on a tour during the holidays, and so I'm trying to, like, get my kid not to be scared of Halloween so that she's not like,
Mhm.
"Oh my god, that's scary." So she
Yeah.
literally loves Halloween so much, like, just like me now,
I
and she's
love
like,
that
"Oh,
for
it's
you.
spooky, oh this," and I'm like, "Oh my god, my little Sally." I love it because my yard is Nightmare Before Christmas, so, like, I have
Aw.
Oogie Boogie inflatables and Jack,
Yeah,
and the Lock, Shock, and Barrel inflatables and stuff, like, I go ham for
I
Halloween.
love
I
that.
love Halloween.
Do you have
So
a Halloween tree? I know some
no,
people do that.
no.
No.
It's too close to Christmas.
It's yeah.
I get really annoyed. Like, if
I
you've
saw
seen
your
my
TikToks.
stories
I saw.
I was like, if you see my stories, I was literally in Walmart because, like I said, I told you at the beginning, I give away like 300 bags of
Mhm.
candy.
Yeah.
Like last year, I had none. COVID, I remember when people were doing it, I had so much candy left over. I was so sad. I was like, oh my God, I hope next year's better. And so I was like, I got the same amount that I had at COVID and I ran out and I was so like devastated because
Yeah, that
I want to
happened
be
to
the person who's
me.
like, "Here's
You had to
more." So I
close
literally
early,
sent my
right? Yeah.
family out. Yeah, I was like, "Go get more candy, go get more candy." They're like, "All we have left are Hershey's Kisses and, like, the cheap candy that, like,
Yeah,
nobody wants." And I was like,
the
"Okay," like the
rockets.
rubber tasting type of twist what are the Tootsie Rolls that are, like,
Yes.
flavored like lemon or something?
Oh god.
And I was like, "No shade to anybody who hands those out," and I maybe like some, but not for me.
Mhm.
So
Not
I
in
was
my neighborhood.
right, not in this house, not in this neighborhood.
No.
So yeah, I've been pre-packing, and now that my daughter is in school, which is like daycare for them, but they call it school.
Mhm.
They have trunk or treat, and I was like, "Oh my god, a whole other event to get ready for. So, like, I'm decorating my trunk to do something. We're gonna
Yes.
have games. And I was like, I don't have nearly enough candy. Like, not for this, because I was asking, like, hey, is the, house trunk or treat, like, is it lame in the sense of, like, 5 people show up? And they're like, "Oh, no, this is, like, our busiest, most, like, amped up type of event that we do at
Oh,
the,
wow.
daycare and stuff." And I was like, "You ain't ready for me. You are not
You're not
ready
ready for
for
Lainey.
me." Not Lainey Hobbs. I know
No.
that's right. Um, so how do you feel now in terms of, like, bridging the gap into the paranormal? Are you more open to it? Do you wanna do, like, would you do a paranormal investigation now?
Before, I was definitely like, "Hell no," like, I'm not why would I wanna, like, open myself to anything? But
Right.
I'm so curious with everything that I absolutely would.
Yes.
I
Okay, so
absolutely would.
if you make plans to come to Denver next year,
Yes.
I'm working on putting together a paranormal, like, investigation, because I wanna do something for, like, those creators who do wanna do it and for listeners who, like, want to go and do it. That I wanna
Yeah.
go to, like, an actual, like, haunted location and do, like, EVPs and all this stuff, and thank God my mom will be there, so I won't be so scared, and I'll know, like, I'll be okay and, like, grounded and shit.
And you can make fun of
Um
me.
Yeah, and I can laugh at you, which is even better. Um, so have some exciting things coming up for TCPF, next year in 2024. We're gonna be in Denver, Colorado, which is, you know,
So
Stanley
beautiful.
Hotel from The Shining, that type of thing.
Oh
Like,
my
it's in Estes,
goodness.
Colorado, which I don't know how far away it is from Denver, but
Hmm.
I plan to be in Denver the week before TCPF, like, the week leading into it, so that we can all go, because 'cause I've never been to Colorado before,
Mhm.
and
Me neither.
I just wanna go and see all the spooky things.
That would be so fun.
I think so too. We'll see, it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
Um, did you meet any of the paranormal creators when you were down there outside of the, paranormal chicks, right, who you
Mhm.
came to see and stuff, but, like, is there
Yeah.
anybody else that you met in terms of the, uh,
I
paranormal
did.
creators?
Yes, P&W Haunts and Homicides. I met
Yes!
them,
They were
and they
supposed
were
to be on this
so nice.
stream.
Pardon? They were
They were
supposed to be
supposed to
on?
be on the stream.
Girls, where are you? I would
Well, they went to
love
go
to meet you
see one
again.
of them. I think Caitlin went to go see Ash Nico. I can't remember
Oh,
now. But do you know who Ash Nico is?
I don't
Do you like the TikTok trend where it was like, "Stupid boy think that I need him. I go hot and cold like the seasons. I
know.
know you think about me in the shower." Like,
No.
it was like a trend a lot. Okay, sorry, you guys, if you're like, "What the fuck?" That
Um,
was Ash Nico. You can listen to it, but that's
she a
okay.
singer?
She's like a rapper.
Okay.
A rapper, maybe
Get
kind.
it, girl.
'Cause, like, is anybody a rapper these days? I don't know. They think they are, but
Yeah, just talking really fast.
yes, yes,
I went
yes,
to the
yes,
store to get
yes.
some milk. Now my milk is in my fridge.
I'm a cow, like, Doja Cat.
Yeah.
Um,
Move.
ooh, right, "Moo, bitch, I'm a
Move,
cow," or
bitch, I'm
something
a
like
cat.
that.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Let me see,
Um,
let me
I
see. Go
actually
ahead.
when you were telling me the story about your doll, it reminded me of something another spooky thing that did happen to me.
Mhm,
But like I said, I never really understood the paranormal realm until a couple years ago. And when this happened when I was 14 and I was sleeping over at my friend's house and we were friends at like the perfect teenager angsty years of
of
like
course.
12 to like 14,
Mhm,
maybe 11 to 14. We lived in the same like house complex and my friend she had a stepsister that would come over and me and the stepsister became way closer. So when
mhm.
we're older, we went over to like their parents were um not together obviously, so it was so confusing. But basically I went to the stepsister's mom's house, which is somewhere else, not in the
Right.
same townhouse complex that we grew up in. And I never met her. And you'd think that's weird, isn't that?
Wait,
Isn't
you
it
never met her
the
mom?
mom? No. I would just be invited over and she would just be in her room at all times. I had never like known what she looked like. I like it was so weird and I just thought like, "Oh, okay, maybe she's just like working or something." But she would say, "No, my mom's home. She's just in the room." Because we were young and like we're not technically supposed to be like home alone, right? Like at 12 or 13. So, my mom would ask like, is an adult there or whatever?" And I asked and yeah, she's in her room. So,
Are you sure?
yeah, I don't know. And then so they move into this new house and we're visiting and the basement is unfinished and I remember the floor being all wood, like just
You went into a basement?
yeah, we did. Every house in Canada has a basement, so I don't know if that's like
Terrifying
some
to me.
basements are really nice though,
Hmm.
but the one that I went to was not. So we were just, like, young and just, like she had an older brother, so he had friends and, we were just young daddy issue girls that wanted attention from men and just wanted to
Love
just
that.
feel yeah, so we were drinking, like, coolers, like Bacardi coolers at, like, 14, and we weren't allowed to, like, obviously, like, sleep with, like, each other, like, not like that, but, like, sleep
Oh, it's
beside
like
each other with the guys,
right,
like, upstairs, so we just, like, all, like, slept in the basement. We all had a group sleepover, so
right.
it was, like, my friend and the guy that she, like, liked, and it was, like, me and then the guy I kinda liked, but I only was cuddling with him because I was so scared, and I was, like, just, like, cuddling so close to him, and he's thinking he's, like, all, like, excited, and I'm like, "No," like, I'm literally just terrified. It was pitch dark, there was no lights on there, we had to go to bed, and I'm not even kidding you, like, I don't even know how I can recreate this. At in the middle I couldn't fall asleep because I was already, like, having just bad vibes.
Yeah.
The drunkenness had worn off, and I was sober, and I was aware of everything, and, she doesn't have animals, and I heard like,
Ew!
upstairs, like,
Running around?
running back and forth, and I'm like,
No,
"What is going on?"
no.
And in my mind's eye, like, I don't know what I have or anything, but sometimes I can visualize things and I'll be right. So, I'll visualize where, like I'll be like, "Where are my car keys?" And I'll close my eyes and I just kinda, like, think of where they are, and then sometimes it's there. Sometimes, not all the time, I'm not saying I'm not, like, some majestic creature, but in my
Sure.
mind's eye,
I'm like, "Don't
I
be around me."
I see, like, this lady, like, on, like, all fours, like, running like horse, like, when you're like a horse and you're
Yeah.
just kinda like you're just playing horsey or whatever, you're just, like, running like that, and then I
Oh,
hear
no.
down the stairs, down
Like
the
a
basement
clod
stairs,
like,
like,
whatever they're called?
the
Clapping?
slots, like, the
Clop.
footsteps,
Guys,
like,
what's that called when a trot? Like
a
trotting?
trot, yeah, like, ba 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 ba, and then like, we're all laying on the floor with, like, our sleeping bags and pillows, and, like, it's almost as if I'm not even joking, lady, we're all sleeping like this, like, say this is us on the ground. I felt like someone was standing right here just watching us. And I was like, "Oh my god, maybe it's her mom and she came
Ew!
downstairs. Maybe it's her mom and she came downstairs and realized we were all sleeping together downstairs and, like, was like, 'What are these kids doing in my house?'" Right? Like,
What are
I'm
these children doing here?
but I'm like, "Why would she not say something?" Or, like,
Ew.
I don't know, but that feeling of, like, someone hovering around lingered for, I don't know, the longest time. I was closing my eyes under my breath, I'm praying, the blanket is over my head, I'm, like, praying for my soul, I'm like, "God, I am so sorry I entered this home, and, like, I drank, and I'm sleeping beside a boy I shouldn't
Ew.
be," you know? And I hear and then after that, after however long, it felt like forever, we hear the
The
back
cl
up the stairs.
trotting again. Ew, up the stair oh, hell
So
what
that
the
means
hell
someone
was
came
it?
down. Someone came down. And then I find out after this lovely friend decides to just to open up with me that her mom is into witchcraft. And
Ew.
yeah, and that she does it in her room and stuff, and that's why she's always in her room. And
So your
that's why I
mom's
never
not
saw
raising you,
her.
she's just being a witch? What the fuck?
Yes, and then she tells and then, like, goes on to tell me how, like, she's seen, like, a full a body apparition in her room, and she had to tell it to leave her alone, and then, yeah, we did not stay friends after that. We kinda just,
I
like,
wouldn't
drifted
either.
apart,
Yeah.
but I would say, like, that moment of just feeling like it was like paranormal activity, like, the feeling of
Ew.
the,
Something watching you?
yeah, like
Ew.
that was, like, the perfect explanation, but I was like, "Is this all in my head? Like, what am I doing? Like, do they have a cat that I didn't meet, or do they have a dog I
Girl,
didn't
ain't
meet?"
no cat trotting down the stairs like a
Like
horse.
that,
Not like
yeah.
that.
Like,
No,
they
ew.
sounded like footsteps, like, "Bup, bup, 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 bup," and it was, like, not yeah. That just
Okay,
brought back, like, a freaking trauma response.
Oh my
It was
god.
like a
I mean,
trauma
that
memory.
sounds terrifying that she was doing that stuff and, like
Yeah, and so, like, I'm not saying all witchcraft is, like, evil
no, not at all.
because I
It's
know, like, Sabrina and Corinne, they're open to, like, witchcraft and all that stuff, but with her, like, you just felt like, the fact that she
there
never
was a
wanted to meet
darkness
me.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, usually when you go over to your friends' homes, like, when you're younger and stuff, the family offers you dinner or, like, makes you guys food or, like, like,
That's, like,
as
is hospitable.
is a host
Mhm.
to children that don't really know how to cook, I
And
guess.
also she's, like, liable for you, so, like, I would be like, "How
Yeah,
many kids do I have in this house before I know, like,
and we're
whose
all
parents are gonna
drinking
call the cops?"
underage and, like,
Exactly.
anyways, so yeah, we never really met her. It was so weird, but, like, with the stepmom, like, when I went the one that lived in the same complex, like, she was there all the time. She was always home, she was always cooking, she was always, like, there watching us and, like, being a parent, I guess. So,
Mhm.
the friend that I was with, friends with, the stepsister, she would always go to her biological moms because she could get away with more. So she could do
Mm.
anything and everything that she wanted because she was not being watched. And so, like, that's why I went over and, like, we hung out, and, like, after that night, I was like, "No, like, not today."
Hell no, yeah, I ain't going
And I
anywhere
talked
around
about it
you.
the next day, and I was like, "Guys, did you hear something, like, running around upstairs?" And they're like, "It's probably the ghost." And I was like, "So funny." And I was
Oh my
like, texting
god.
my sister, "Can you come pick me up, please?"
Right? You're like, "Please come
Bye.
get me right
Yeah, I
now."
don't think I ever went back to that house. And it just, like, yeah, make that just made so much sense, like, I felt so much weird energy coming from oh, oh, yeah, that
From
was a big
there.
experience, yeah.
Crazy.
But what
Okay,
I
so go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say back to, before I told my story with P&W Haunts and Homicides, they did,
Mhm.
like, a little tarot thing where you could,
Yes.
pick, like, a little package and it would, like, tell you something, and
Yeah.
I thought it was so cool. Mine was I can't remember what it was, but they explained it to me, like, the journey that you're on, like, to make like, basically, if you put, like, as much energy and stuff to make into what you love, like, it will be successful. And
Okay.
so in my mind, because they said, "Think of something and then open it." And I
Mhm.
thought of my podcast, and I was, like, thinking and just, like, just wanting it to grow and, like, hopefully one day be, like, an inch as, like, successful as you.
Oh my gosh.
And, so I opened it and it was like, yeah, like, as long as you keep
Putting
going
it
on this
into love.
journey, put in your energy, put in, that, like, hard work and it will be successful. And I was, like, instantly just like, "Oh my god, like, I love you guys."
Aw. Isn't
It
that
was like
great though? It's really I
yeah,
think see, like, I think with people
it
when
was
it
so
comes to
affirming.
yes, like
Yes.
with with tarot and stuff like that, it can be it's not meant to be foreseeing and saying, like, "This is
Yeah,
exactly what's going to happen to you." It's meant to
exactly.
say, like I think the benefit of, like, tarot and doing it is, like, you have the opportunity to either continue the way you're going or do something new because now you know what could possibly lay before you if you continue down this path, and if you don't, then you can
Mhm,
go, down route A if you want to instead of going down route B or whatever. So I loved what they were doing, and they made it so, like, accessible and not scary for
mhm,
people, and I thought it was really sweet, so I definitely love it. So, like, within your own culture,
mhm.
right? Like, within your ethnicity and stuff, like, for me being Mexican, we have a ton of folklore associated with it. Like, are you familiar with any of the folklore in your culture or anything?
Yes, my so I'm Cambodian and my culture is culture and language is Khmer.
Mhm.
And so the Khmer culture, there is this lady that is there's it's she's a headless no, is she a headless woman? Yeah, she's a headless woman, but then in some soap operas, it's just a head that she is, but, like, she's just, like,
Just like
this
a
ghost
floating
woman.
head?
Yeah, floating head, but, like, she was always, so it's this lady that walks around with a missing head, and she's, like, always out to get you if you're bad. Like, she was just like the boogeyman, you know? So, it was a lady with a cut off head. I don't have, like, a story about how she came about, but
Yeah.
I just always remember, like, that being told to us and, like, knowing about, And then I watched some TikToks that in a lot of cultures, there's always like a headless woman. There
Kind
or
of,
there
yeah,
there can
like,
be
there's
a
always, like
dilapidated woman or
yeah,
something.
like a woman who's been scorned or is been like, had some very tragic event happen to them
Yeah.
that, makes them be, how people
Def
perceive evil or, like, omens of death or bad
Yes,
omens.
yeah, she was always, like, something that's like, the idea of her, I think, was
Yes.
always so scary that, like, if you stay up too late, you're gonna see, like, this lady, or if
Yeah.
you're doing
It's
something
like the,
bad.
Mexican culture, folklore of La Llorona, right? Like, she's
She
meant to
is so
be
scary.
yes, and she's meant to be, right? Like, she's the variations across Latin America and even in Mexico, and it really depends on who told you about La Llorona and, like, what's
Mhm,
been passed down in their family, so there isn't, like, a generally accepted story,
mhm,
because it changes so often, but, like, it's generally, like, she, she was in, what was it? She had children, and she was a beautiful woman living on a ranch in Mexico, right?
mhm.
And she ends up seeing either her husband with another person or she decides, like, her husband dies or something in battle, and she ends up meeting this, like, rich conquistador or another rancher or
Mhm.
something, and she's just, like, so enamored with him, so in love with him, and she's just like, "He would never want me because I'm a woman who has children, so I have to kill my children so that he knows that, you know."
I haven't heard
Oh,
this
you
one.
haven't heard La
This
Llorona?
version. No, this
Oh, okay.
version.
Yeah, so
I'll tell
she's
you the
like,
version I heard.
I have to have I have to be a free woman, basically, like, I can't be a woman who has
Wow.
obligations, so she kills her kids. Another version is that, like, she sees her husband cheating on her,
Yes,
and so
that's the
she
one.
has 2
Yeah.
kids, and she decides to drown
To
them.
kill them, like,
The one
you
that
can't have
I'm
any of us.
familiar with is that she is enamored by this person, this ranchero or this conquistador guy who
Mhm.
she's like, "Oh my god, he's amazing, he's so wonderful, he's so great. He would never want me if I had my kids," so she decides to drown them, and she goes to
Terrible.
him and is like, "I can be with you now," basically, and he was like, "Well, where are your kids?" And she's just like, "What do you mean?" Like, she didn't know he knew she
Mm.
had kids, and so she basically told him what she did, and he was like, "Well, I could never be with you, like, I knew you had kids, and I was willing to be with you with it." So it's like she killed them for no
For no
reason, so
reason.
she ends up going and drowning herself,
Mhm.
and then she comes back to wander because God, like again, if you believe in God and you going into heaven and all this stuff, when she goes to heaven, she's told by God, like, "Oh, no, like, you need to go find the souls of your children because they're not here. You
Yeah,
need to
you
go
can't
find
enter
them,
without
and you're"
them.
yeah, and you're forced
Mm.
to, like, walk until you find them, so she's, like, walking along the river where she drowned her kids, searching for them and wailing, which is why you hear her, which is why she's called La Llorona, which is the crying woman,
Mhm.
translated roughly, because it really is like the crier, the woman crier, something like that, so,
Um,
she's wailing for her kids, and people will use it, like, to scare their kids into, like, going
being
in
good?
not being well, not going outside at night, like, you don't wanna
Yeah.
go outside at night because you may run into La Llorona, and she may
That's
touch
actually
you,
good, though.
yeah, like, that's what
In this
most of
day and
these
age, it's not La Llorona,
folklores
it's
are
a
meant to do,
kidnapper.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what most of
Mhm.
these folklores are meant to do, they're meant to scare kids, which is the same thing as, like, El Cucuy, like, it's the boogeyman for us in, Mexico. My grandma used to do this to my brothers. My grandma, I don't know why, but, like, when we would all be together and stuff, like, me and my grandma would be sleeping in the bed, my brothers would be sleeping on the floor, and I would always be like, "Tell me those ghost stories, like, I wanna know what the ghost stories are again."
Mhm.
And she would tell me, like, when my brothers were little, like, they would not wanna be going to sleep or anything, they'd, like, fight her for sleep, and she'd start, like, knocking on the wall above them and be like, "It's El Cucuy, like, it's the Cucuy," or whatever, and, for a while, it did scare my brothers, but then they kinda caught
They
on,
caught
and so
on.
she'd be doing something, and then they would when they were like, in bed or whatever, they would bang on the wall too, they would, like, knock on it and be like, "It's the Cucuy, it's the Cucuy," like, getting them. So I always thought that was so funny, but yeah, like, these folklores and these stories are meant to scare them. So, like,
Mhm.
I think it's really interesting from a faith point of view, right? Because the majority of the Mexican people are Catholic,
Oh,
right? So, um, you hear that banging?
yeah, I do.
Oh, that's probably my niece. She's upset about something. Um, she's
I'm like,
like,
is
boom,
that
boom,
me
boom.
or is it
Is
him?
that me? Is that you or me?
It stopped.
So it's me.
Yeah, it's you. Because I
Okay,
put my
good.
earphones in and I
We're
can hear
almost done, guys. Don't worry.
it.
Don't worry, Ghost. So, um, now see, all that made me lose my thought. Um, what was I saying? What was I
uh,
saying? I don't remember.
the knocking, and you're saying that was
Oh yeah,
and
so,
you
like,
figured it out, and
it's
then
interesting, right, that, like, you're so faithful in your faith as a Catholic, right, that you literally, like, don't do anything because that's of the devil and all this stuff, but they will
yeah.
also go and believe in, like, curanderos and stuff like that, and curanderas, which are basically healers, right, like,
Oh,
it's
mhm.
basically to, like, help amplify what God can't do, which is I'm like, if you believe in God, then you believe he can do everything, but you're still
Yeah,
going to, like, this healer and witch
who's
doctor to,
human.
like yeah, to, like, give you stuff, so it's hilarious,
Okay.
to me. But, I love our culture and our history in that sense, and so I hate, La Lechuza, which is an owl, and it's a harbinger of death. My biological father experienced La Lechuza, in Mexico when he was there. His
Oh
uncle or his brother, I don't know if my mom's still watching, she
my
can correct
god.
me, but, like, basically what it is, like, it's a warlock or a witch, right, who is able to transform themselves into an owl, and if you see it at your home, it
Oh,
brings a bad omen of death, right? So, you have to go out and you have to, like, essentially cuss it out and get it to get off of your property, because otherwise it will, um, bring death essentially to either you or someone you know or someone close and stuff like that. So when he was in Mexico one time, he had gone out because in the places they were at, in the cities they were at, they didn't have indoor plumbing or anything like that, so you had to use an outhouse to go to the restroom. So
mhm.
he went out one night, to use the restroom,
Oh, that's gotta be
and
the worst.
he, like, hears something, and I think his brother and then his mom or something like that come out, and he sees this thing flying over his head when he, like, comes out of the restroom, or he was peeing outside. I can't remember which one he was doing, 'cause he's a dude, obviously, you can pee outside if you want to. You don't have
I
to go into
know,
an
must be
outhouse to
nice.
do it. It
Yeah,
must be nice.
right?
So he, like, saw this thing flying overhead, and I think my uncle, or whoever it was, had his
Mhm.
gun, shoots it, and it falls down into the field. And then the next thing they see is this person stand up
No.
and run away.
No, 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 no,
And
no, no,
so
no,
they're
no,
like,
no,
"Okay,
no.
that was a lich." So, like, somebody it's either, like, it's brought on to you by somebody, like, putting a curse on you, or, like, it's just a thing that happens, right? And
Okay.
so they started asking around town because, like, the way the ranches in Mexico are set up, it's like its own little town, right? So imagine, like, a very, like, isolated country town,
Okay.
essentially, like that. They
Yeah.
have their own, like, clinic, grocery store, like, all these things, like, insulated.
Mhm.
So they started, like, asking around, like, "Hey, did anybody come in, like, with a wound or of some sort and everything?" And it was a warlock, like, they knew it was, like, a male witch, if nobody knows what a warlock is. Um, and I don't remember, like, the origin of, like, how it found them or anything like that, but you're meant to,
Mhm.
like, go out and cuss it out to get it away from you and stuff like
Get
that. So,
the
like, I hate owls. Like, I hate them so much because
They
they
are
to
very
me
creepy.
yeah, and to me, they're like harbingers of death. Okay, so this is my mom. My mom said he's using the restroom outside under a light and he saw the Lechusa fly over. The Lechusa went to the next colony of the Mennonites, and then a Mennonite shot it and it fell down and transformed into a man. So there you go.
Ah, oh my goodness, that's
Still
still as creepy.
creepy, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's still, like,
no.
weird. And so it's just the whole experience of it all of, like,
Yeah,
having somebody within my family experience that and stuff like
so
that, and
close to
also
you.
the type of I mean, my biological father was a POS. Um,
Oh.
and, shout out he's dead, so it's fine. I mean, you know, it's
Maybe
fine.
that's what was behind you.
Right? He's all like, "Oh, I'm gonna haunt my kid." Well, that's
Oh
of
my
course, he
god.
would only haunt me because he was never there anyway.
Oh, no, so he wouldn't be in the
So,
afterlife.
yeah, trust me, he wouldn't waste his time haunting me because he was never a dad anyway,
Oh
so it'll be
god.
fine. Um, so they, my mom said they never found out who it was, but the person was injured. Yeah, because they, like, walked away like that when they stood up
Oh my
after they
goodness.
were shot. But anyway, so, like, just
Ugh,
the type of person that he seemed to be, it just wouldn't
no,
be
I just
plausible for him to make something like that up. My mom just said,
yeah, I
"Some of
just
these
read
people
that.
are
That is
haunted."
so scary.
Ew! Mom,
I hate
it
that
is
so
8
much.
o'clock at night. It is dark outside now, and you know that I don't like to be talking about these things at night, which is why I ended it at 8. Because 'Cause I'm
It's
like,
9 o'clock over here.
"Yeah,
Thanks
I'm
a
already
lot. I'm not
over."
safe anymore.
They had a well before that they built the house, they were raised in, and they could hear a baby cry. So cool, thanks. Let's all live with that in our brains. Yeah, see what I'm saying? Like, this whole family on either side of it is just, like, experience something paranormal. My
It's a
mom too, my
no
grandma
for
too. My grandma
me.
especially has had some stuff. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Anyways, you guys, we are wrapping it up because it is 8 o'clock. It's when I said the stream would end, and now I'm scared. So now I have to go distract myself with something else.
Yeah.
Um, Natalie, thank you so much for joining me on
Thank you so much for having
our
me.
spooky spooktacular. We're gonna do it every year,
I love that.
because
I
I
love
love it, and I'll do a better job of marketing it because I didn't do such a great job of it, and that's fine. You can
it.
catch it on the stream
Yes.
later. You're
Mhm.
welcome. Um, if you want an episode for your podcast, here you go. You can cut it into 2 parts and split it up.
Amazing.
I'm happy to giving you
Thank
some
you.
content. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. For those who have joined us on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook Live. All of them are connected to my true crime podcast pages, so sorry about that. I don't know how to change it. So it is what it is.
You
But
got
feel
some
free.
extra good
Yeah,
content for
it's a
free.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I love the paranormal. I love spooky season, Halloween. As you know, if you follow me on any of my platforms, I have been talking about Halloween and spooky season for the longest time. Be
Mhm.
sure to check out the show Deep Dive Convos. It's hosted by Natalie, who is on the stream with us tonight. And sorry, Christina from Spooky Tales joined us as well. So be sure to check out Spooky Tales. Natalie, where do you want people to follow you?
Oh, can I put it in the chat?
For sure, and I'll highlight it.
Okay, thank you.
And
Wait,
you can
how do I
follow a Spooky Tales wherever, at a
oh, wait, I
Spooky
have to
Tales.
connect my YouTube. Okay, well, it's
You can
under
put it in the main chat because 'cause I'll see it. If you put it
oh,
in the
okay.
private
My
chat,
chat?
I'll see
Okay.
it, and then I can put it in there. But otherwise, my handles are below. It's Haunted What Now on Instagram
Dive
or Lainey Hobbs,
Convos.
BO on Instagram. And I really, really desperately enjoy everybody who joined me. It's one of my favorite things. I want to do a
Yes.
better job of connecting with people on live streams, especially my listeners. Um, so please feel free. I put it in here, highlighted it in
Thank
the chat so
you.
everybody can see. So at underscore deep dive podcast. Um, when yeah, it was a lot of fun. Check out the episode I did with Natalie on her podcast. We covered the Villisca Axe murder house
Yes,
and
very
the Devil
creepy.
Made Me Do It case, which was a lot of fun to do it. My mom said her handle is Food Stamp Survivor. What a turd. Um,
Love you,
so
Monique.
and you can also follow and listen to the podcast on Spotify. It's Deep Dive Conversations. Again, I'm going to post that in the chat so everybody can see. And so it lives on in
Forever.
our history of the live stream.
Amazing.
Also, who was it? Parsival. Thank
Oh,
you for
yeah,
joining
how's
us.
your
If we
drinks?
recall, hopefully still alive, still out there, hasn't shaved his
Shook his
head
head.
or shaved their head. Could be, I don't know, he, she, they,
Yeah.
them, don't know. But they definitely wanted a woman to come on and smoke a cigarette with us. And I was like, I don't smoke a cigarette. But maybe
Mm-mm.
that's a German thing. Like maybe Germans just like, you
I'm gonna
know,
go ask my fiance because he's German.
yeah.
Is that a
And be like, is
thing,
that a
guys?
thing? Is
If
that
it
a
is,
thing, you
good to
guys?
you.
Yeah, kudos to you,
Hope
but
you
also stop
enjoyed your
because
drink.
not great. Yeah, right. I had a gin and soda all night thanks to my husband. It's one of my favorite drinks.
Aw,
Um,
that's so nice. He
Mom
made it
said
for
he's
you?
probably yes.
That's so sweet. I
Yeah,
have
he does a great ratio.
ice and water.
Me
and then I
too. I didn't
accompany
drink
all
any of
night.
it this stream, so that's wonderful.
That's great.
Mom said he's probably shaving his head now, so wonderful. Next time we'll get on and maybe we'll play together a spooky game.
Ooh.
Like I love horror games. I'm terrified of them. Anyways, long-winded short, follow me wherever you listen to podcasts. True Crime Cases with Lainey. It's Haunted What Now? True Crime Convos if you want to do a live stream version, or if you like live streams and like to hear those. I've
Mhm.
separated the two, so True Crime Convos lives on its own podcast feed. Um, have some awesome fun things coming up towards the end of the year, beginning of the year that I can't talk about yet, but I will be able to talk about soon. So
Oh,
hopefully you guys are sticking around, and I'll see you in a few weeks for another True Crime Convos. Natalie, thank you again for joining us.
thank you so
Everyone,
much.
you're welcome. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone.